Hey listeners, so how are you all? Thanks for joining our small corner of Manhwa, so get your headphones and be ready to dive in another world of manhwas. So today we are gonna watch In World of Magic I Survive with Pure Strength. Part 1 out of 4. Here a short summary for better understanding. In a world where magic defines power, he's the glitch in the system, the one man born without a single drop of it. Mocked, discarded, and underestimated, he trains his body beyond human limits. Now, he crushes spells with his fists and topples magic elites with brute strength alone. This isn't just muscle versus magic, it's a roaring, fist-pounding rebellion against fate itself. Packed with insane battles, laugh-out-loud moments, and raw emotional grit, the Musclehead's journey in a magic-filled world is your next obsession. Watch one episode and you're in for the full ride. Because when magic fails, muscle rises. Want a version with voiceover-style energy for the intro too? Here we go on story. You need to exercise more or you'll die. The doctor's words hit me like a truck. It was supposed to be just a routine physical, but now here I was, a 32-year-old man being told I was at risk of death. I'm not fat, just a little chubby. I tried to argue with myself, but deep down, I knew the truth. My belly had grown to the point where I could barely see my feet. That's why, 2 years ago, I finally decided to join a gym. At first, I hated it. But as time went on, I found myself enjoying the process. The weights I lifted went from beginner to intermediate level. My body changed from chubby to slightly muscular. Hell, I even had a six-pack now. And today, I was aiming to break my personal record in the deadlift. You know what? I almost lifted 400 pounds yesterday. Today's the day. I gripped the barbell, lowered my hips, braced my core, and pulled with everything I had. The weight lifted slowly, painfully until it reached my waist. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3, I let it down with control, feeling the burn in my muscles. Hell yeah, new record. But the moment I celebrated, my vision blurred. My legs gave out. Oh crap, the world tilted, and I fell backward. I don't know this ceiling. I blinked. Blue sky, white clouds, the scent of fresh grass. Wait, wasn't I just at the gym? Did I pass out, hit my head? But this wasn't a hospital ceiling. I sat up and looked around. A dense forest surrounded me, and in the clearing where I lay, the grass had been recently cut. Nearby, an old shrine stood, slightly collapsed probably because I kicked it in my sleep. Beyond the shrine, a narrow dirt path led into the woods. It was warm. Too warm for winter. Strange birds chirped in the distance. And most importantly, 2 suns shone in the sky. Oh, I see. So this is the legendary isekai transfer. For some reason, I accepted it more easily than I expected, maybe because I'd read too many stories about it. Status open. Nothing happened. Status open. Status opened. Still nothing. Weird. It always works in anime, maybe I need a higher level. No status screen, huh? Well then, let's check for cheat abilities. And what's an isekai without some op skills and a harem? Grinning, I turned to the nearest tree. If I had super strength, I'd know it with one good kick. I swung my leg with all my might. Thud. Gah, that hurts. I clutched my foot, hopping on one leg. The tree barely had a scratch. Okay, so not a strength-type cheat, maybe magic. Or appraisal. For now, my throbbing foot took priority. Into the forest. After limping around for 3 hours, I followed the trail deeper into the woods. The shrine earlier hadn't been abandoned for long. The grass was neatly cut, someone had to be maintaining it. That meant there was civilization nearby. After 4 hours, the path widened. I heard the sound of running water. My throat was dry. My feet ached. Finally, a river. In my world, drinking river water raw was a bad idea. Parasites, bacteria, you name it. But this was another world. Surely, I'd be fine, right? Checking my watch, I saw it was 3 p.m. Assuming the day was 24 hours long, I had maybe 3 hours before sunset. Better set up camp before dark. Gathering sticks and leaves, I built a crude shelter. Then, I removed my watch's cover, placed a drop of water inside to make a convex lens, and used it to start a fire. Didn't think all those solo camping YouTube videos would come in handy. With a simple spear, I caught some fish. They weren't too wary, maybe people didn't come here often. As I ate my bland, unsalted meal, I looked up at the night sky. 2 moons hung overhead, surrounded by constellations I'd never seen before. Yeah, this is definitely another world. If there were no humans here, I'd be completely alone, but that shrine meant someone or something was nearby. The night air grew chilly, so I warmed up with squats. My leg felt fine now. Still, the load wasn't enough. Guess I'll carry some rocks while I'm at it. I picked up a large stone by the river. Unlike barbells, it was uneven, hard to balance. But that just made for a better workout. I smiled. Karl Gotch, the legendary wrestler, once said real strength comes from lifting natural weights. After breaking a sweat, I lay down on the cool sand. Tomorrow, I'll find a human settlement hopefully. With that thought, I drifted off to sleep. Hollow diamond. Ouch. Sleeping on the ground sucked. Even with a bed of leaves, my back was killing me. Maybe I should have trained my back muscles more. Alright, I'll find a sturdy branch later and do some pull-ups. For now, I needed to check my belongings. Let's see, a towel from my neck, my tracksuit, underwear, athletic shoes, power grips, an empty shaker and my phone and watch. The power grips were a gym essential used to improve grip strength for pull-ups and other exercises. The shaker was for protein, though right now, it was just an empty bottle. So, only the stuff I had on me got transferred, huh? Would have been nice if a barbell came along too, though carrying it around would be a nightmare. But wait, wasn't this the kind of situation where I should have gotten a magic bag or some overpowered storage skill? Inventory open. Item box. Storage. Nothing. TCH. No cheat storage. Guess I'll have to rely on magic. Magic should be awesome, right? Regardless, I had nothing useful for survival. If I didn't find a village soon, I'd be in trouble. The shaker only held 500 milliliters, so I decided to follow the river downstream. Clean water and food were critical. I filled the bottle and started walking, hoping to find civilization. I walked while observing my surroundings. Yesterday, I was too preoccupied to notice, but now I saw plants that looked like bracken and trees bearing something resembling walnuts. Walnuts are a great source of healthy fats and low in sugar, definitely something I'd love to eat. But if they're poisonous, that would be a problem. Better not risk eating anything unfamiliar unless I'm absolutely sure. Where the hell is civilization? Is it acceptable to start crying now? 4 days of following the river downstream, and still no sign of human settlement. Along the way, I encountered a massive waterfall that forced me to take a detour. At one point, I had to climb a sheer cliff like a damn mountaineer. So yeah, progress wasn't exactly smooth. Now that I think about it, wasn't there a rule about heading for the mountain peak instead of following a river when lost? Yeah, bit late for that. Besides, even if I did climb to the top, there's no guarantee this world has proper mountain trails. Should have watched more surviving in uncharted wilderness videos when I had the chance. Voices. After 5 days and about 2 hours of walking, I finally heard something what sounded like a beast's roar and human shouts. It was a little ways off the river, but I should head toward it. If I played my cards right, I might get rescued. Though it does sound like a fight. Right now, I had no gear, no clue what my own abilities were. If I got caught up in that mess, I'd probably die instantly. Peering down the cliff, I spotted several people locked in battle with a massive, bear-like creature. For now, best to observe from a distance. Hollow diamond. Freeze in place. Ice bind. The ground beneath the massive red-furred bear, easily 3 meters tall, instantly froze, locking its feet in place. Guga. Gruoa. The bear stiffened for a moment, but its thick fur must have prevented the ice from reaching its skin. It quickly recovered, rearing up on its hind legs and letting out a furious roar. That brief opening was all the knights needed. 2 of them, clad in armor, unleashed their attack icicles as thick as a man's arm, hovering in the air, shot toward the beast at the exact same time. Icicle. The ice spears, each as thick as a man's arm, shot toward the bear like rocket launchers. The beast swung its massive right claw, aiming to swat them away. But its body suddenly jolted. A brief spasm. For some reason, its claws veered off course, slicing through empty air instead of intercepting the attack. The icicle struck true, piercing deep into the bear's right shoulder and stomach. Vibu. The bear let out a guttural howl. I ruptured its eyeball. Sorry, I was late syncing the connect. You did well, Ares. Crimea, earth, fire, another volley. Kyle, the one who had frozen the bear's feet earlier, gave the order while preparing his next spell. The beast was gravely wounded, but this alone wouldn't bring it down. One moment of carelessness, and the tide of battle could shift in an instant. Yes. Icicle. Crimea and Earth launched their ice spears toward the bear, aiming for its soft belly, but the now blinded beast wildly swung its arms, shattering both projectiles mid-air. Then, with a furious roar, it charged straight for Ares, who was still momentarily stiff from the sync connect. Dodge, Aries, Ice Bind. Kyle hastily abandoned his previous spell and cast Ice Bind again, but in his rush, the spell lacked enough magic power he couldn't fully restrain the bear. Aries stood frozen in place. Unlike standard magic, Sync Connect works by aligning the caster's wavelength with the target's, allowing direct interference with its internal functions. Normally, this technique was used for healing. However, Aries had refined it into an offensive spell by increasing intraocular pressure from within. He could rupture the eyeball internally. But Sync Connect had its drawbacks. It took time to establish a connection with a target that hadn't given consent, and once the spell was activated, the caster would be temporarily paralyzed. Earth Javelin. The ground beneath Aries erupted. 4 stone spears shot up from the earth with tremendous force. One impaled the bear's front paw, pinning it to the ground. 2 pierced its soft underbelly, the last one severed its head. The bear collapsed, lifeless. Thank you, Commander Beale. Aries, your attack Sync Connect is powerful. Under the right conditions, it could be a one-hit kill. Beale's voice was calm but firm. However, it comes with drawbacks. If you intend to use it, you must always have protection in the rear. And remember, red bears have an excellent sense of smell. Blinding them alone is not enough. Yes, sir. Well, Commander. This was also a test to see if Aries Sync Connect could be used in real combat, wasn't it? I'd say the results were good enough. Right, Crimea. Yes. Now that we understand the weaknesses, next time, either I or Earth can cover Aries depending on the situation. What a pain. Come on, Earth. You need to put in some effort too. Beale crossed his arms, nodding as he considered the discussion. We'll need to adjust our formation anyway. The approach differs depending on whether we're fighting humans or beasts. We should also consider bringing in a defensive mage. He clapped his hands together. All right, everyone, handle the cleanup. You may take the meat back, but make sure to properly bury the innards. Yes, we'll have meat in our soup for a while. Crimea cheered. Kyle, can you hang the bear up on a tree? I'll start skinning it. Earth, go fetch some water, will you? You work people too hard, Crimea, may you be cursed. Excuse me, and now I'll get the water, okay. Earth, can you dig a hole for the innards instead? Crimea turned to Aries, her expression softening. Are you sure you're okay now, Aries? Alright, I'll go fetch some water. There should be a river nearby. Open hollow corner bracket Yuya. A sudden, ear-splitting scream echoed from above. Someone was plummeting down the cliffside at an incredible speed, hurtling straight toward Aries. What the? Aries, get back. Ice Bind. Kyle immediately cast his spell, but nothing happened. The figure kept falling. Restraint. Bind. Icicle. Why isn't it working? Before anyone could react, the screaming blur shot past the stunned Aries, zipped by at an unnatural speed. And crashed straight into the hole Earth had been digging. The battle seemed to be over. They actually took down that giant bear-like creature without guns. Magic is amazing. Seeing magic used in combat for the first time had me thrilled. I had been watching from a distance, but I could still see ice spears shooting through the air, freezing the beast's legs, and those stakes rising from the ground at the end. Absolutely badass. The bear was taken down instantly. That was just too cool. Alright, enough being impressed. Now that the battle's over, I should try calling out to them. Hey, excuse me. Suddenly, the ground beneath me gave way. I lost my footing. My body lurched forward, and in a desperate attempt to stay upright, I forced my legs to keep moving. Right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot. Before I knew it, I was sprinting down the cliff at breakneck speed. If I stopped now, I'd fall. At this speed, that would be fatal. My only option was to let inertia take over and keep running. The terrain was softer than expected, my feet sank slightly into the ground, throwing off my balance. I've been through worse during squats. Squatting with a loaded barbell forces you to control your balance. If you're not careful, the weight can tip you over. But I had trained for this. Engaging my core and stabilizing muscles was second nature to me. Out of the way, a figure appeared in my path, a young man frozen in shock at the sight of me barreling toward him. If we collided at this speed, neither of us would walk away unharmed. Damn it, no choice. I extended my right arm as far as possible and pushed off with my left foot, executing a diving front roll. I barely avoided the man and crashed straight into a hole, tumbling 2 or 3 times before stopping. Hollow diamond. Ow. I was at the bottom of a 2-meter deep pit, rolling my shoulders and hips to make sure nothing was broken. When I looked up, multiple pairs of eyes were staring down at me. Ah ha ha, sorry about that. You okay? I tried to sound casual, but no one answered. Instead, I noticed something unsettling, floating ice spears hovering near their shoulders. Oh no, they're pissed. Yeah, of course they are. I did just crash into them out of nowhere. What now? I forced an awkward smile, but it didn't help. Raising both hands over my head to show I meant no harm, I barely had time to react before a spear of ice shot toward my feet. The icicle stabbed into the ground just 3 centimeters in front of my toes. That was close. Onkokona. Wait. Against violence. No. Naniwidiro. Wait, what? They don't understand me. Hollow diamond. This is bad. Normally, in these situations, there's some kind of automatic translation, right? What kind of isekai transfer is this? Did I get stuck on hard mode? But now that I think about it, I barely managed English back in my world. I should have expected this. Haha, no PR blem, time to use my magic muscle language. I gave them my best smile and pressed my hands together in front of my chest in a surrender pose. Shoulders slightly dropped, body tilted forward, classic please don't arrest me stance. It was just like when a foreigner gets stopped by the police in Akihabara. If you don't resist and answer politely, they usually let you go pretty quickly. Don't ask how I know this. At first, they flinched at my sudden laughter, but when I stayed in place without making any threatening moves, they began discussing something among themselves. After a few moments, a man with a neatly trimmed mustache, who seemed to be the leader, stepped forward. He raised his palm toward me, muttered something under his breath, then turned back to his comrades with a surprised expression. Soon after, a tall, handsome man appeared, carrying a rope. The moment he saw me, his face twisted into an unmistakable look of annoyance. Wait, what? Why do you look so disappointed? Am I that much of a letdown? I should be the one disappointed here. As I was lamenting the absence of a language translation skill, my morale took another hit. This beautiful man, whom I had never even met before, already seemed sick of me. The handsome guy swung the rope above his head like a cowboy and threw it toward me. It missed. The rope smacked me in the head. He tried again. Smack. How many times are you gonna fail, you lousy cowboy? Any admiration I had for his looks vanished in an instant. Realizing this wasn't going to end anytime soon, I sighed and grabbed the rope myself, looping it around my body. Without hesitation, they yanked me up, dragging me out of the hole like a captured animal. Aries, point of view. I was completely caught off guard when something suddenly came rushing toward us, letting out a strange noise. What is that? The size of its body is strange for a person. The bear cub we just defeated? No, that's not it. While I was still trying to figure it out, it was already right in front of me. It's fast. What the hell? Aries, get back. Freeze bound, ice bind. Kyle shouted. Deputy Commander Kyle immediately cast a spell on it. He's always quick to assess the situation. A bit of a ladies' man, but still reliable as our vice commander. Restraint magic was activated right away. Wait, don't tell me it's resisting magic. Magic resistance is a rare ability that nullifies spells, but it's extremely difficult to achieve unless there's a vast difference in magical power. Normally, only a high-ranking magician can overpower a novice in this way. That means it has more magical power than Deputy Commander Kyle. A cold sweat ran down my back. More magic than Kyle? No way I can handle that. It let out a loud cry and swung its fist at me. There must be some kind of magic in that punch. I was so terrified that I squeezed my eyes shut. I cautiously opened my eyes, bracing for the impact that never came, only to see the thing losing its balance and tumbling into the hole I had just dug. Hollow diamond. Aries, are you okay? I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart. Yeah, I'm fine, but what was that thing? In the hole, a humanoid figure was writhing around. Do you think that was a person? Crimea asked, summoning floating icicles. It looked human, but those muscles are unnatural. I think I saw something like that in Dr. Train's research books a long time ago, Kyle muttered. Crimea raised an eyebrow. Oh, I didn't expect you to be the reading type, Kyle. Of course I read. I had my school days, too. Dr. Train's classes were brutal. If your report is late, you'll be part of the next experiment. Who knows how many people fell victim to his dubious human experiments? No, I don't want to think about it. Anyway, I believe it was called an alopecia ape. Alopecia monkey. Look at those muscles. If you shaved off the fur, most wild animals would have massive bodies underneath. This thing is wearing clothes, but yeah, it's wearing clothes, isn't it? So is it actually a person? If we just kill it, there won't be a problem, muttered lazily. Kyle gave her a disbelieving look. You just want to get out of here as soon as possible, don't you? Hold on, Crimea interjected. We need to be sure if it's a person first. If it moves suspiciously, I'll release the icicles without hesitation. Kyle checked the area for any companions. Aries, see if you can make a sync connection with it. Wait, what is it saying? Cent pound percent hashen. The thing suddenly started speaking in a completely unfamiliar language. It sounded structured, like actual speech, but I had never heard anything like it before. On the continent of O'Neill, everyone speaks a common language. Long ago, there were multiple languages, but they eventually disappeared. As I pondered this, the creature suddenly bared its teeth and raised its hands high above its head. Not good. It's trying to invoke magic. Crimea, sensing the danger, immediately fired an icicle. However, due to her tension, the icicle only grazed the creature's foot. Don't move, she shouted, preparing another attack. What the hell is it saying? Hollow circle reference mark. Katakana middle dot katakana middle dot katakana middle dot katakana middle dot hollow up pointing triangle times. A brief silence followed. Then, suddenly, it burst into laughter and started chanting something. What? Tension gripped everyone. The creature slowly clasped its hands together and stretched its arms diagonally forward. Then, it looked at us and smiled. That gesture, it's the universal sign for I won't use magic against you. Not hostile but stay on guard, Beale ordered. Raising his right hand, he activated an appraisal spell. Analysis. But the magic vanished before it could take effect. What? Magic resistance. Commander, I saw it happen to Deputy Commander Kyle's spell too. Does that mean this thing is an incredibly high-ranking magician? Kyle clicked his tongue. What kind of ridiculous magic resistance does it have? None of our spells are working. Commander Beale sighed. I have no choice. Kyle, go get a rope. We'll have to pull it up manually. What? Fine, if magic won't work, I guess there's no other option. What a pain, Kyle grumbled as he left. Stop complaining and just do it. Snapped. Kyle shot her a glare. You're the last person I want to hear that from, With a sigh, he disappeared to fetch the rope. Keep watch for any other threats. Aries, any luck with a sync connection? Crimea asked. I've tried several times, but it's impossible. If my magic won't work when even the commander's spells are resisted, there's no chance I'll succeed. Before long, Kyle returned with the rope. He looped it and repeatedly threw it into the hole, but he couldn't get it to catch. Kyle, you suck at this, remarked bluntly. Kyle's eye twitched. I usually use magic to restrain people, okay. I'm not good with ropes. Damn it. Inside the hole, the creature watched Kyle's repeated failures with an exasperated expression. Finally, as if to say enough already, it grabbed the rope itself and wrapped it around its body. Kyle, looking slightly conflicted, pulled it up. First-person POV protagonist perspective. Hey, everybody, how's your strength training going? Right now, my hands and feet are tied with ropes, and I'm completely restrained. They've put me inside a fenced-off area. The fence stakes were set up by a dignified-looking man with a sturdy mustache using magic. Very useful magic. Of course, I'm not just lying here doing nothing. My forearms, elbows, and toes are planted firmly on the ground as I keep my body straight. That's right, I'm doing a plank. Might as well get some core training in while assessing the situation, right? Killing two birds with one stone. Nearby, the people from this otherworld are dismantling the bear they just killed. It's quite surreal to see a petite girl handling such a massive beast so efficiently. She's pretty skilled. The young girls in this world hunt on a regular basis. The fur is being stripped from the belly to the hind legs. Meanwhile, the unfortunate, handsome guy and the small boy who almost ran into him earlier are carrying the dismembered meat to a cart and packing it into barrels. After watching for a while, I've noticed something. People here seem to be able to use multiple magical attributes. In most isekai anime, people specialize in just one attribute, and having multiple is considered rare or valuable. Too bad, though, handsome over there is freezing the bear's feet, and both girls were launching icicles earlier. That means their magic is probably ice or water based. But then again, that guy lifted that enormous bear and hung it from a tree all by himself. And he's built like a string bean. The bear looks like it weighs at least 880 pounds. He must be using some kind of magic. Gravity-based. Physical enhancement. One thing's for sure, it's not rope manipulation magic. And what about the small boy? He wasn't active in the battle earlier. Is he just in charge of cooking and chores? Or maybe he's a healer? Still, what's up with this expressionless girl crouching down and staring at me while I hold my plank position? Is she keeping watch over me? Well, I guess I am a suspicious person in their eyes. Also, she's taking off her light armor. Her outfit is pretty revealing. How much longer can I keep looking without getting in trouble? Kusatampuro. Did she just ask if I wanted some grass? No, I don't need grass or anything. Wait, hold on. Could it be an herbal remedy? If she's offering it in good faith, maybe eating it would make a better impression. I opened my mouth wide, trying to show agreement. Munch PFF'd. What the hell? What is this? It's definitely not something that's meant to be eaten. No, I don't want it. Stop pushing it on me. Sukikirai entame. Don't be picky, she says, smiling sweetly. What the hell, that's a really smug smile. She's smiling and forcing the bitter grass into my mouth. Hollow diamond. Third person paw of Crimea's perspective. He is probably a human, so I suppose it's okay to call him he. Kyle used anti-gravity magic to reduce his weight, but the guy either resisted it instinctively or has some kind of magical resistance. In the end, we had to haul him up manually. It was really heavy. I thought my arms were going to fall off. His body is 3 times my size. What the hell did he eat to get that big? He looks a little weird, though. After pulling him out, we put him inside a temporary fenced area that Commander Beale made. Surprisingly, despite his intimidating appearance, he was actually well behaved. With that settled, we turned our attention to dismantling the red bear. Is he a high-ranking magician? Commander Beale seems to be keeping an eye on him, just in case. But honestly, he doesn't look like a high-level sorcerer. If anything, he looks more like a giant beast. I grew up watching my parents hunt, so I have a pretty good eye for these things. And yeah, he's built like a bear. Just like Kyle said, except without the fur. He looks more like a hairless ape. I wonder if his chest muscles are as thick as this bear's. As I absent-mindedly think about that, I continue dismantling the red bear with practiced efficiency. Kyle, make sure to freeze the meat properly. It'll spoil in this heat. I got it. I'll freeze it just right. Kyle grins and gives me a thumbs up. You're taking it to those brats at the orphanage, right? Yeah, they're going to love it. In the kingdom of Saucy, there's a state-run orphanage. It primarily takes care of children who lost their parents in military service. I was one of them. My father was a skilled wind magician, so skilled that he once shot down 2 deer from 300 meters away at the same time. Because of his reputation, he was even invited to be a temporary instructor at a magic academy. Thanks to that, I was able to enter the state-run orphanage. There are also church-run orphanages, but well, they don't treat the kids very well. Recently, Shen, one of the caretakers, mentioned that food prices have gone up. Sometimes, they don't have enough to feed everyone. So whenever we catch a lot of fish or get extra meat, we bring it to the orphanage. I bet Ert will be coming too, right? Ert and I grew up in the same orphanage. She's like a little sister to me. When she was 8, her parents were murdered right in front of her. Because of that, she lost the ability to express her emotions properly. But deep down, she's a really honest and kind girl. I know that better than anyone because we've been together our whole lives. Lately, though, she's been slacking off. And when I call her out on it, she complains instead of listening. She's not very cute these days, if I'm being honest. Speaking of which, where did she go? I glance around and there she is. With him. Ert, stop slacking off and She's laughing. Rumble, rattle, rattle. The wagon rattled along the dirt road. It was a beautiful day. Above, the sky stretched endlessly, a brilliant blue unmarred by power lines or high rises. Back in my world, the sky had always felt smaller, hemmed in by towering apartment buildings and a tangled web of cables. Now, I lay crammed into a wagon about the size of a small futon bed, jostling beside a barrel of meat for the past hour. The temperature hovered above 30 degrees Celsius, 86 degrees Fahrenheit, but the dry air made it bearable, nothing like the stifling humidity I was used to. At least the barrel beside me was filled with frozen meat. The cool air spilling from it was a welcome relief. 4 men in light armor walked alongside the wagon. Their matching emblems suggested they were part of an organization, perhaps the military or a policing force. Sitting alone at the back of the cart was the girl who had forced me to eat that bitter herb. Her golden hair swayed in the wind, catching the light. It was beautiful, not that I had fallen for her or anything. Objectively speaking, she just had a pretty face. Maybe the fact that I hadn't resisted much worked in my favor. Even though my hands and feet were bound, the restraints weren't particularly tight. No blindfolds, no earplugs. Way gentler than getting detained for jaywalking back home. The men wore mostly blue light armor, yet none carried swords. The design reminded me of leather armor from a game, except for the iron chest plates and shoulder guards, which gave them a sturdy, polished look. Each bore a dark green emblem on their shoulders, a bird, possibly a symbol of their rank or allegiance. Compared to my world, their gear looked primitive. But if magic was the main form of combat here, perhaps their armor was enchanted for defense. If they could take down a bear without firearms or melee weapons, maybe they didn't need swords at all. Even so, shouldn't soldiers and guards be a little more built? Was food scarce or something? Even with their armor, they were noticeably thin, closer to the physique of a long-distance runner than a soldier. They might have been toned, but from my perspective, they were seriously lacking in muscle mass. If it's because of food shortages, that's not good. I need protein ASAP. Ever since I arrived here, my diet had consisted of river fish and nuts. What happens when you go catabolic? Your muscles break down. The thought of my hard-earned gains wasting away sent a chill down my spine. How much protein does bear meat have? Each time a frozen chunk tumbled out of the barrel, I discreetly stashed it away in my pocket. After nearly 2 hours of rocking and rattling, the cart came to an abrupt halt. At that moment, I had been lying on my back, doing leg raises to train my lower abs. My momentum carried me forward right into the edge of the cart. Damn it, at least give a warning before stopping. Not that I would have understood it anyway. I sat up, rubbing my forehead, and looked toward the front of the cart. A group of armed men blocked the road. There were about 10 of them. At first, I assumed they were part of the same organization, but the tension in the air said otherwise. They weren't allies. Their armor was different. Red. A red lion adorned their shoulders. A lion, huh, so they have those here too. I stayed still, watching. If things got bad, I'd have to run, even if that meant throwing myself off the cart. And then, a blast of wind magic erupted from the enemy's side. The force overturned the entire wagon. Thrown to the ground alongside the barrel, I barely managed to scramble beneath the upturned cart. The horse whinnied in panic, eyes wide. Sorry, buddy, but I can't help you. Suddenly, golden hair appeared. The girl crouched beside me, slashing through the ropes binding my hands and feet. Blood trickled down her forehead, but she didn't seem to care. I couldn't understand her words, but her urgency was clear. She wanted me to run. If I go out there, I'll die. Thud, the ground trembled beneath us. Then, a wall of earth rose, forming a perfect arch between the cart and the forest beyond the road. She pointed toward the trees. Then, she shoved me forward. Boom, the sound of ice shards slamming into the dirt wall echoed behind me. I ducked my head and sprinted. The girl, she didn't follow. I ran. I didn't know where I was going, only that I had to keep moving. A wild boar crossed my path. I kept running. Branches scratched at my arms, roots caught my feet, and eventually, I tumbled forward, rolling onto the forest floor. Flat on my back, I lay still and listened. No one's following me. I could still hear the battle rumbling in the distance. If I can hear it, that means it's still going on. I exhaled, staring up at the canopy. The leaves above tinted the sky a deep green. The same color as their emblem. I survived, but what about them? What would happen if I went back? I had no idea how my cheat power worked yet. And I was still wearing a damn jersey. One good hit from an ice spear, and I was dead. Even that girl, she was a stranger I had only met a few hours ago. Yet, she had smiled when she pressed that bitter herb against my lips. She had pushed me forward, urging me to run. The only people I knew in this world were the ones back there. Muscle training changed my body. Now, it was time to change my mind. The ground still rumbled with battle. I slapped my cheeks to refocus. If the fight is still going, that means they're still alive. I got to my feet. Then I ran back to them. Kyle's point of view. The primary duty of the Third Magical Order is to guard the borders and subjugate monsters. The Kingdom of Saucy is surrounded by the Republic of Picari, the Empire of Narbonne, and the sea. If viewed from above, it would resemble a distorted triangle. The borders between nations are marked by an artifact, a magical tool. But what does that mean, exactly? When approaching the border, one is blocked by an invisible wall. Anything lacking enough magical power such as animals like the red bear and the great boar, or even natural elements like rain and wind can pass through freely. These magical tools have been passed down through generations by the rulers of each country, and it is said that they cannot be reproduced with current magical science. To activate the artifact and form the border wall, the king of our country and the leader of the neighboring country must come together and perform a ceremony. In other words, it serves as a formal agreement between both nations on where the border lies. This wall cannot be activated or deactivated by one country alone. Naturally, during times of war, the wall ceases to exist, as it is deactivated when both nations declare hostilities. In short, the only times it is used are when war begins or when territories are redefined after a conflict. This is why border security is relatively lax. While we deal with occasional monsters, major incidents are rare. To be honest, we hold less prestige compared to the First Magical Order, which interacts with the pompous nobles at the royal castle, or the Second Magical Order, which is responsible for maintaining domestic security. Well, that's precisely why I ended up as the deputy commander. Many of our members come from orphanages, like Crimea and Urt, while the rest are those who have fallen from higher positions. Ares was originally a healer in the Second Magical Order but was transferred here due to some trouble. I don't know the details, but it's rumored that Commander Beale was once a part of the Second Order as well. Anyway, border security is usually peaceful. However, today was different. First, the red bears creatures whose habitat is within the Republic of Picari. While it's not unusual for them to wander over in search of food, the timing is off. Then there's that muscle-bound guy. I've never seen a race like his before, but he looks human. And his magic power is absurdly high. I take pride in my own magical abilities, but he shrugged off my magic effortlessly. I have no idea where he came from, but considering his immense magic power, he should hit the border wall if he tries to cross. That means he can't be a spy from another country. Then what is he? We believe he is a cursed child. A cursed child is a child born with an unusual appearance or strange physical traits. In rural villages, they are still seen as omens of misfortune and either killed or abandoned in the mountains. I don't know how he managed to survive all this time, but he must have been through a lot. I can see it in his face. That's why our kind-hearted Commander Beale decided to take him under his protection. Hollow Diamond, Crimea's point of view. We walk along the border, occasionally putting a block of ice in the mouth of the horse pulling the cart. The cart is full of bear meat, and both he and Urt are sitting on it. Urt, you're slacking off again. I'm frustrated because Urt is slacking off. But surely that's not the only reason. More importantly, why is Urt smiling at him? Urt isn't the type to express emotions easily. She rarely smiles, and yet, she's smiling at him. I can't remember the last time I saw her so relaxed. She never smiled like that with me. Kyle told me that the guy in the wagon seems to be a cursed child. I can't believe there is a village that dumps strange-looking children in the mountains. Surely that's a bit much. Strange, but it's so sad to throw him away. He said he's been alone in the forest all this time and probably can't even speak the language. That's right, I will be his big sister. If Urt and he were siblings, they could get along, and I wouldn't be jealous. As I was walking with these thoughts in my mind, the forest began to rustle. Another red bear. I signal to stop the horse. I can smell faint traces of oil and iron in the wind. The sounds of birds and insects disappeared from the left side of the forest. Listening carefully, I gradually heard the sound of rustling grass and multiple voices talking. People, in a place like this. Rustle, rustle, rustle. About 10 soldiers emerged from the forest. The soldiers over there seemed to be surprised and upset that we were here, as if they had not expected us to be here. That emblem, the Picari army. Why is another country's military here? I shout with a tremble in my voice, yes, Commander. It's the Picari army. Beale said carefully so as not to provoke his opponent, hey, we are in the territory of the Kingdom of Sorcery. One of the Picari soldiers shouted, wind magic, sudden gust. A roaring gust of wind hit us instantly. We quickly got down on the ground, but our horses and carts were hit. I screamed, oh no Urt. My heart skipped a beat when I saw Urt caught in the attack. You son of a bitch. I fire a magic icicle. At the same time I released the icicle, Commander Beale magically created an earthen wall. When I saw the ground rising, I rolled inside the wall without checking if the icicle had landed. Hey, 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 hey. What the hell is going on? Why is another country's army here? Kyle muttered in frustration. Ares muttered, this is going to turn into an international incident, isn't it? Kyle turned to him and said, they were the ones who initiated the attack. It's already an international problem when another country's army is in the kingdom. Ares, you'll need to help the wounded. Beale turned to Ares and requested, I'm sorry, Ares, I know this is a bit of a rush job, but could you do me a favor? If possible, I want to restrain him without killing him. Can you take away his vision like you did with the red bear earlier? I'll try, Commander. Perhaps it's easier to synchronize magic with people than with animals. Ares said, closing his eyes to concentrate. Crimea turned to Beale and asked, Commander, what should I do? Beale said, Crimea, keep firing icicles until Kyle enters the forest. More shots than strength. What will he do? I'm sure he'll stick with Urt. I said. He couldn't have come at a worse time to rescue. Release him and let him head into the forest. But your life comes first. Beale commanded, beginning to chant magic. What can I do if I don't know anything about combat? I thought desperately as I ran. In fact, in my former world, I had learned martial arts and was the undefeated champion for 3 consecutive years in a secret, anything-goes fighting tournament held every year in an underground arena. I wish it had been like that, but unfortunately, I only watch martial arts on TV at the end of the year. Ah, I learned judo in class when I was in school. Maybe my body remembers more than I thought. No, think seriously, I could really die. I look around, but there aren't any knives conveniently lying around. The best I can find is a rock the size of my fist. Throwing rocks won't work on that reinforced-looking light armor. But if I had a knife. There's no point in wishing for something I don't have, so I search my pockets. My fingers touch a phone, a power grip, a shaker, and this is either frozen bear meat. I'm trying to be brave enough to go back without crying, but what hope do I have? No, wait, I have muscles from the gym. Muscles will never betray me. Yes, if we go behind them and surprise them, we can take them down with 1 or 2 strikes, can't we? If I can rile them up, there's a chance they'll do the rest. Rustling. Eek. I was afraid it was soldiers from the other side, but it was the boar I had seen earlier. As I looked closer, I saw that it was a big boar, about 2 meters in length. Suddenly, I lock eyes with a boar. Ha what? Boo-ah. As soon as the big boar saw me, it rushed forward, its gray fur standing on end. It's like a gray artillery shell. The shells, charging straight ahead and mowing down everything in their path, would be unstoppable by trees of any mediocre thickness. The deadly bullets of death that approach fiercely, ferociously, and viciously. It was Maggle who quickly rolled to the side and ducked. The big boar changes direction with more agility than expected. He is glaring at us with his nose in the air, and taking aim at us. The pressure of the big boar confronting me was unbelievable. My instincts were ringing in my head, run. Vicious, intense, cruel, and without malice. The next round was loaded mercilessly, and the muzzle was set. It's coming. What do we do? BMOHHH. The escape route I chose was the sky, as the big boar charged forward in a straight line, kicking up earth and sand. A stuntman I saw once, who was unharmed even after being hit by a car. He said this on TV. There's a trick to it. I believe he jumped onto the hood and used a spin to deflect the force of the collision. I roll onto the grass, protecting my head with my arms and hands. The impact was stronger than expected, and I ended up spinning several times in the air, but it worked out. The big boar charged forward with such force that it ended up crashing into the thicket. I quickly climb a nearby tree and hold my breath. I thought I was going to die. Dying before I could go save them would be way too embarrassing. The big boar ran around in circles, but after a while, it seemed to calm down and started digging the ground, searching for food. Sigh, that's right, boars have poor eyesight. I can't afford to stay still until it leaves. Even now, their battle is still ongoing. Damn it, it's a shame, but it can't be helped. I threw a piece of bear meat behind the wild boar. The wild boar turned around and, spotting the meat, began to devour it eagerly. Good, just keep eating it. I quietly climbed down from the tree and ran away from the boar as I was. Hollow diamond. I returned to the spot where I had been before and peeked out from the shade of a tall tree to see what the battle was all about. Unlike with the bears, I could see that they were shooting magic at each other at medium range. The distance is about 300 feet or so. He didn't have a sword in his belt, and the main combat in this world is at medium range. That's when I spotted a lock of golden hair swaying. Thank God, she looks like she's still alive. I'm relieved to see a girl who can unleash magic while hiding in a cart, but the situation isn't looking good. The cart protecting the girl was pierced by numerous icicles, some parts already beginning to crumble. A short distance away, near the earthen wall, stood the mustached middle-aged man, the girl who had been handling the bear, and a short young man. Wait, where's the disappointing handsome? Did he get taken out despite being handsome? The memory of him being smacked with a rope, his pathetic expression, it's not like I have any fond memories of him. And yet, the thought of a familiar face being dead makes my eyes sting a little. At that moment, the other soldier, who was about to release magic near the forest side, suddenly lost his balance and fell. His legs had frozen. That magic is the handsome guy's. He's alive, he's alive. It seems that the handsome man is attacking his enemies from the forest. If you look closely, you can see some people on the opposite side, crouching or falling down while holding their eyes. Magic that travels in a straight line can't hit properly in the forest because the trees get in the way. Impressive. He's a disappointing guy, but he really is just handsome. I want my sad feelings from earlier back. The other side is highly skilled and seems to be operating effectively as a platoon. A man wearing a red face shield, who seems to be the commander, plays a central role, adjusting the casting time and attacking in waves to ensure the magic is not interrupted. You see the wounded man going around to the rear and receiving recovery magic. It is unclear how much recovery magic will promote recovery, but if there is a possibility of recovery over time, the strength gap should be seen as unfilled. After confirming the situation, I move through the woods behind my opponent. Even if they found us, we knew from the handsome man that hiding behind a tree would keep the magic from hitting us directly, so we'd be fine. The other soldiers seem to be distracted by the forest where the clay wall and the handsome man are, as if they don't realize there are ambush soldiers. I bend down and hide in the woods opposite the handsome guy across the road. I was sleeping on the cart when the first attack happened, so maybe the other side didn't know I was there. If you don't know, here's your chance. For the other side, I'm a totally unexpected asset. Well, I'm not sure I'll be much of an asset, but at least I should be able to upset them, yeah. My target is a soldier in the rear who uses recovery magic. In games, it's generally a good strategy to take out the healers first. My goal this time is to eliminate the recovery players and get out of there to prevent the reduced forces from coming back. From what I can see, there seem to be two healers. One is recovering a soldier who was just frozen in the leg by a handsome man. The other healer is waiting behind the commander. He is concentrating on the battle and doesn't notice me at all. You pound your trembling legs with your fists to ease the tension. It's not just my legs shaking, the trembling spreads throughout my body and won't stop. Don't worry, it will work. It should be nothing compared to the big boar I saw earlier. I take a deep breath. Yes. I crawled out of the grass and ran toward the man with a low posture. The image is sumo wrestling. A forward-leaning stance. I put all my weight behind my momentum. With that, I slammed my right shoulder into the man's waist from behind. Wham! People are vulnerable to unexpected shocks. The same blow can cause a considerable difference in damage between being struck while braced and being struck unexpectedly. A dull, crunching sound of bones breaking echoes in your ears. The powerful thrust with legs and hips, built from repeatedly lifting and lowering nearly 440 pounds in squats, easily shattered the man's spine. The man, who had not anticipated the attack from behind at all, was thrown back and flew into the woods, as if it were some kind of joke. What? The soldier, who had been sitting on the ground receiving the man's healing magic, froze as he watched the man fly off in front of him. Of course, he'd be shocked. I'm just as surprised myself. I didn't realize people could fly that far. Kyle's point of view. I spined. I run through the forest. Occasionally, I cast magic randomly along the path. I don't need to hit them. My goal is to wear them down. Is that all you've got? I dodge their magic by taking cover in the shade of a tree. But keeping this up while wearing them down is tough. Originally, my role was as a scout, and I'm good at hiding in the woods and leading opponents astray, but mostly, I'm just trying to lead or slow down big boars, red bears, and other pests. I sometimes have to deal with bandits, but dealing with highly trained soldiers isn't something that happens often. But now is not the time to be complaining. I wish I could use the commander's earth javelin, but right now, he can barely manage to maintain the earth wall. If we keep stalling, we'll run out of options. We need a way to break the situation. For now, I'll freeze a few of their legs. If the enemy's attacks slow down, the commander might be able to use offensive magic. That was when I spotted him, hiding in the forest on the opposite side. Why are you still here? I thought you ran away. Come on, seriously. The odds are against us, we can't figure out a way out, and now we have to protect him too. At this rate, we're done for. The commander said, my life comes first. That's right, this time we're not guarding the royal family. Right now, our top priority is to report that, for some reason, an enemy army is invading our territory. To do that, one of us must survive. For God's sake, just stay hidden. But what was he thinking? On his own, he ran straight toward the Pakar army. Is he a damn idiot? I don't know. Why are you charging at the enemy? Could it be that you're planning to fight for us? There's no denying that his magical power is monstrous. But if that's the case, he should have fired some magic from that spot I see. There's no way that guy, who doesn't even know the proper incantations, could possibly wield magic. No matter how abundant one's magical power may be, without proper knowledge, magic is useless. Even the simplest spells are typically taught by one's parents in childhood. After that, one either enrolls in a school specializing in the magical discipline of one's choosing or studies under a mentor. Chances are, that so-called cursed child doesn't even possess the necessary knowledge to wield magic. Ah, damn it, I've decided to help everyone within my reach. Damn it. Icicle huh? Just as Kyle was about to cast his spell, what caught his eye was a soldier from the Pakar army hurtling toward him, his body contorting in an impossible direction. Hollow diamond. From the protagonist's point of view. There's no time for spacing out. Though taken aback by the unexpectedly overwhelming power, I stomp on the belly of the soldier who, equally frozen in shock, lay there and went in search of another healer. There he is. I think it's the guy behind the face guard. I took out the man at the end of their line, and yet, no one had noticed my intrusion. Ignoring the crouching figures, I closed the distance to the healer. Not Nanteomecha. Hey, what are you? By the time the man noticed, my right arm had already sunk into his collar. I grabbed the man's collar with my arm and slammed him down into the ground. Gah! The man stopped moving, frothing at the mouth. It was supposed to be a right hook, but I had trouble judging the distance. Still, I'd taken out the two healers. Now, I just had to get out of here, no matter what. By now, it was impossible not to be noticed after causing this much havoc. The faceguard wearing commander standing before the downed soldier glanced at me, startled, and began casting a spell. What? The spell's already being cast. I quickly dropped flat to the ground. A blast of hot air rushed past just above me. Ouch! I roll backward, creating some distance. I never expected flames to come flying at me. Then again, it's kind of a classic move. I'd like to make a break for the forest, but I can see a few of them starting to chant. Oh, no, no, no. As I searched for an escape route, I locked eyes with a handsome man in the forest. It's a strange feeling. Even though we don't speak the same language, I feel like I somehow understand what the handsome man is thinking. Perhaps the handsome man understood what I was thinking too, because I saw him nod slightly. I'm counting on you, handsome. Makasaratsorera. You can count on me, Icicle. SHHKKK. As the spell activated, I bolted toward the forest where the handsome guy was. That handsome guy cancelled out the incoming fire spell with his own ice magic. He's so dexterous. He might actually be pretty amazing. I stumbled into the woods and crouched under the shade of a tree, gasping for air. Before I knew it, the handsome man was standing right next to me. Nanayataro, Ninkuroyo, what are you doing? Get out of here. Hey, handsome, it's about that time, Nantat. What did you say? If my guess is right, reinforcements should be arriving any minute now. Beal perspective, Commander Beal, the wall, it's collapsing. The earth wall spell, reinforced with more magic than the usual amount, could easily deflect something as weak as an icicle spell. However, the Pakar army quickly adapted, switching to a combined magic merging icicle with Gale Blast to increase its impact. A combined magic that enhances the propulsion of an icicle spell with Gale Blast. By nearly doubling its speed, its piercing power increases significantly. While this technique has a weakness, the frictional resistance reduces the durability of the icicle spell. The benefits outweigh the drawbacks. After all, even a small stone can easily pierce through a wooden plank if launched at high speed. This is bad. He generated another earth wall from within the crumbling one, layering them further. By creating a controlled gap between the walls, he reduced the piercing power of the attack. However, I'm too occupied maintaining the walls to launch an attack. Crimea and are holding them off, but the enemy squad numbers around 10. There's a good chance they have a healing mage. Ares, how many? Why yes. 7 left. Ares responded quickly. We've successfully destroyed the eyeballs of 3 using synchronized connect. Even with healing magic, they won't be able to regenerate right away. But, his voice wavered, considering we also need to heal our own wounded, our magic reserves are running low. I'm sorry. No, you did well. 7 left. Ares, synchronized connect is highly effective in direct combat. For now, it only robs the enemy of their sight, but since healing takes time, it's practically the same as taking them out of the fight. However, if this battle drags on, our smaller numbers will put us at a clear disadvantage. I don't want to think about it, but if they're moving in squads, reinforcements are a real possibility. Thanks to Kyle, we managed to spread out their attacks, but they're still relentless. Are they staggering their casting times? Their coordination is surprisingly well trained. My Earth Javelin spell allows me to adjust its attack range. Against tightly packed formations, it would be the perfect weapon, but with the constant need to maintain earth walls, I don't have the leeway to use it. Considering Ares, synchronized connect, we might really need a dedicated shield bearer. Hey, are you okay? You're bleeding from your head. Ares, hurry, use healing magic. Crimea's panicked voice rang out. Is positioned 2 meters diagonally behind the wall. It looks like he was injured when the cart overturned, but he still has enough strength to fight back. I understand how you feel, but I can't move from here right now. Ares protested. Just swoosh over there, heal them up, and get back. Crimea shot back. Are you telling me to die? Ares shouted. Healing magic only works when the caster is close to the target. This is because the spell's effect must be adjusted based on the location and severity of the wound, whether it needs stopping the bleeding, regeneration, or revitalization. That's why a healing mage must also have medical knowledge. Muttered, you don't have to come ever, if possible. Ares gasped. What, do you really hate me that much? Beal placed a hand on Ares' shoulder. Ares, I'll gradually shift the earth wall toward Once you're together, heal him. Understood. But, Commander, what about after that? Ares asked hesitantly. After that, we'll all retreat into the forest and scatter. We'll slow the enemy down with guerrilla tactics. Ares, you'll return to the castle and report. Beal gave his orders firmly. What? No way. I'll fight until the end too. Ares protested. What are you talking about? Crimea cut in. Once you use healing magic, you'll be out of mana. You won't be able to fight, so just follow the commander's orders. Crimea, Ares murmured, a mix of guilt and gratitude in his voice. Ares, I told you at the start, didn't I? Your own life comes first. Right now, if we're wiped out, no one knows what will happen to the Sashu kingdom. Someone has to report this crisis. You understand, don't you? Beal's voice was firm but unwavering. I understand. Wait, what? For the first time in his life, Ares witnessed a person sending another person flying. Hollow diamond. From the protagonist's point of view. From their perspective, we in the forest must have seemed like the bigger threat compared to the ones stuck on the defensive. Their attacks began to concentrate on us. That should take care of the girl, hopefully. Thanks to that, we no longer have the luxury of worrying about anyone else. No, on second thought, I never had the luxury to begin with. At least now, having a handsome guy nearby is somewhat reassuring. Still, in the middle of the forest, with no magic to rely on, there's not much I can do. Except for some good old side-to-side shuffling. Positioning the tree as my shield, I step to the sides, peeking out from the left and right in quick, playful motions. And then dodge, dodge, dodge. Oh, wow, they're seriously pissed. Apparently, side-to-side shuffling has a provocation effect. They're firing off spells like crazy. I'd love for them to burn through their mana at this rate. While shuffling side to side, I glance toward the forest on the other side of the road. Alright, at this point, it's 70% timing, 30% luck. I pick up a few fist-sized rocks from the ground and start hurling them at the enemy. I used to be a baseball kid, I've got confidence in my control. Thud, the rock struck the soldier but bounced off his light armor. Looks like they've reinforced it with defensive magic after all. Sanamankakanizo, that won't work on them. Kyle called out to me. This is exactly what I want. I need to draw their attention into the forest. Just make it work somehow. Sikatanina, Isakuro, TCH guess I've got no choice. Icicle. I kept throwing stones. I knew it wouldn't do any real damage. But even so, I didn't stop. Angered by how their spells kept missing us, the soldier in a face guard began chanting as he advanced into the forest toward us. That bastard, he's planning to burn us along with the entire forest. Damn it, hurry up. Focusing on the spring-like motion of my body, I draw my arm back. Ooh, I swing my right arm with full force and hurl the stone. The speed of my throw sends blood rushing to my fingertips, making them tingle with pain. The stone flies straight like a bullet, and grazes past the face guard's side, vanishing into the forest beyond. The soldiers smirked mockingly as they watched me miss with my all-out throw. Ha, let's see how long you can keep laughing. BMU. A roar of doom echoed. Suddenly, from behind the soldiers, a gray projectile charged at them. That's right, the last stone I threw. It was aimed at the giant boar lurking in the forest. From the protagonist's point of view, a cloud of dust and frantic shouts filled the air as bodies were sent flying. The soldiers were helpless against the giant boar's sudden charge, trampled one after another in the chaos. Had they noticed in advance, they might have been able to react, but thanks to the handsome guy drawing their attention, everything went according to plan. The soldiers in this world likely have little experience with close combat. That's probably why their builds are so scrawny. Of course, it's possible that there are stronger, more muscular soldiers elsewhere, and these guys just happen to be weak. But at least from what I've seen so far, every single one of them has been on the lean side. If they can be sent flying by me, I'd be surprised if they even weigh 110 pounds. For soldiers like that, the only way to stand a chance against a giant boar is to keep their distance. But I won't let them. I gave directions to the handsome guy that way. Over there, stopping the ones trying to flee into the forest. If they managed to escape into the woods, we'd end up caught in the chaos too. Oh my Inkatsaunina, you're brutal. The handsome guy looked at me with a strained expression. I don't understand his words, but he's probably giving me some credit, right? Hollow Diamond, Beale's point of view. Commander, the enemy went bam, flying, and then this huge gray thing went boom. And started spinning like crazy. Calm down, Crimea. I've told you time and again to report information accurately. Your report has way too many sound effects. But this has to be our chance. Sure enough, the enemy's attacks had stopped. I immediately extended the earth wall to the cart. Ari jogged over to Ert. With this, Ert could finally be healed. But what the hell just happened? That's a giant boar. A quick look at the battlefield showed that in just this short time, the Pakar army was on the verge of collapse. The giant boar has a thick layer of subcutaneous fat and tough fur. Its defense is higher than that of a red bear, but its attack patterns are mostly straightforward charges. As long as you're not caught off guard, it's not too difficult to deal with. However, at this close range, things get tricky. We need to act fast. Once the Pakar army is wiped out, it's obvious that the giant boar will turn its attention to us next. I'm casting an area spell over there. Once Earth Javelin goes off, Ert and Crimea follow up immediately. After giving his orders, Beale immediately began his chant. We'll finish them here, Hollow Diamond. From the protagonist's point of view. Kusonka Namarina, you've gotta be kidding me, don't underestimate me, you lousy boar. I saw the face guard wearing commander cast a fire spell at the giant boar. The focus and decisiveness required to cast a spell in the middle of that chaos. There was no doubt he was an exceptional mage and a capable commander. But that was a mistake. Whoosh, a fireball, about the size of a basketball, slammed into the giant boar's face. The side of its head immediately caught fire. The flames spread across its head in an instant. Using fire at that range is just asking for trouble. Buggy, as the giant boar whipped around, its flaming head sent the commander flying straight into the air. The flames engulfing the boar instantly caught the commander on fire. I knew the flames would spread to him. Fire magic seems tricky to use. When I saw them about to blast it into the forest, I was worried it might start a wildfire. Well, guess it serves them right. The boar desperately rubbed its head against the ground, trying to put out the flames. The burning commander was crushed under its massive weight, getting pummeled and torn apart. He's probably unrecognizable by now. Sautsia. Earth Javelin. At that moment, jagged stone spears erupted from the ground, impaling the battered soldiers and the giant boar's belly. Isakuro, icicle, Isakuro, icicle. At the same time, icicles rained down in a relentless barrage, striking again and again. The continuous blasts of magic and the giant boar's wild thrashing kicked up a cloud of dust, making it impossible to see anything. Cough hack, I can barely see what happened. Ayataka. Did we get it? Kyle strained his eyes, peering into the dust cloud. I don't understand what you're saying, but you really shouldn't be raising death flags. The attack ceased, and silence fell over the area. As the dust began to settle, only the giant boar remained standing in the stillness. Buggy thud. The giant boar lifted its head, gazing at the sky. Then, with a weak, final cry, it slowly sank to its knees and collapsed. Sorry for dragging you into this when this had nothing to do with you, but you really helped us, thank you. I pressed my hands together and closed my eyes, paying my respects to the fallen giant boar. As the battle ended and I took a proper look around, I saw mangled bodies scattered everywhere, most of them unrecognizable. The handsome guys were gathering the corpses in one place while checking for any survivors. What's going on? Why am I shaking? Now that the tension had worn off, my whole body started shaking violently. My legs gave out, and I collapsed onto the ground. Nantamon Tadano, why are you here? Seeing me collapse, the blonde-haired girl hurried to my side and placed a hand on my back. Perhaps it was because I was surrounded by cold, lifeless bodies, but her touch felt surprisingly warm. For the first time in my life, I had fought. Back in my old world, I had never even been in a real fight, let alone a battle to the death. So many people died. Now that the adrenaline had worn off, the sheer gravity of what had happened made me sick to my stomach. I had been so caught up in the moment that I hadn't noticed, but the toll on my mind was far greater than I had realized. Of course it was. Because I might have killed someone, too. Wait, what happened to the first guy the first sent flying? Sue. Just as I turned my eyes toward the forest to look for him, the spell had already been cast. From within the trees, the man roared with fury. Signy. Die. The icicle magic. The same icicles that pierced through the bear and impaled the giant boar were now fired with murderous intent. There was no time to dodge. I instinctively pulled the girl close, shielding her by covering her with my body. At that moment, having already reached my limit in so many ways, I lost consciousness. Kyle's point of view. TCH, there's still one left. The bodies were so mangled, scattered limbs, crushed legs that getting an accurate count took longer than it should have. I should have at least counted the heads. I spined. Right, that guy the musclehead sent flying, he was a healer, wasn't he? I thought his spine had snapped when he was sent flying into the forest, but I see now he must have been hiding while using healing magic on himself. And of all things, he turned out to be capable of offensive magic too. Failing to confirm was my mistake. But this is the end for you. Kyle froze both of the man's arms and knocked him down with a kick. With the man flat on his back, Kyle drove his foot into his chest, pinning him in place. Then, he began his chant. Kyle, that's enough, Beale ordered firmly. Kyle clicked his tongue and smirked. Hey, you don't look like you're praying, but hey, must be nice having divine protection, huh? The enemy commander let out a sharp exhale, his eyes burning with defiance. HMPH, we're done for. I doubt the gods would mind if I take at least one of you with me. The man glared at Kyle and growled. HMPH, it's hard to admit, but we have no deaths on our side. Beale said, glancing over the battlefield. Kyle, restrain him and bring him along. There are too many unanswered questions about this whole situation. Kyle nodded. Understood, Commander Beale. Tough luck, huh? Your spell was a complete waste, huh? The enemy scoffed, his expression twisting with frustration. Ha, you're lying. My spell definitely hit that big guy's back. I saw it with my own eyes. Look, he's lying over there, isn't he? Kyle smirked and casually draped an arm around the man's shoulder. Leaning in close to his ear, he whispered with a mocking tone. Your oh so powerful spell was completely nullified by resistance. Totally and utterly erased. Hollow Diamond. Ares, heal him, hurry, Crimea shouted. Ares rushed over to the fallen man and immediately cast a healing spell. However, as feared, it was resisted. Beneath his limp body, Urt groaned in pain as he was crushed under his weight, struggling to breathe. I'm trying, but it's not working. I never imagined even healing magic wouldn't work. I've never heard of anything like this before. Ares wiped the sweat from his forehead as he spoke. At a glance, his injuries seemed minor, just a few scrapes, with no signs of major bruising or head trauma. Most likely, he had simply lost consciousness after being freed from extreme tension. Still, could magical resistance really reject even healing magic, no matter how much mana he had? So heavy. Hey, Ares. Instead of standing there thinking, help me get Erd out first. Crimea huffed. Right. I'm on it, Ares quickly responded. Grunting and straining, the two of them worked together to drag Erd out from under the fallen man. I thought I was going to be crushed completely, flattened, Erd mumbled sadly, glancing down at her own chest. Oh, come on, they were like that from the start. Crimea said cheerfully as she handed her a mana pill and some water. Normally, mana is absorbed into the body through food and other sources, gradually accumulating over time. The amount one can store varies from person to person, and those capable of holding large reserves are considered to have high mana capacity. Mana is consumed when casting magic. Those with greater mana reserves can use magic more frequently and with greater power, making them highly valued wherever they go. When magic is used to the point of extreme mana depletion, symptoms of mana exhaustion syndrome appear, including headaches and nausea. Mana pills are a condensed extract of mana derived from various ingredients. While they only restore a small amount, just enough for a single icicle spell, they are a common item that most mages carry with them. Still, he's really completely fine, huh? It looked like that icicle stabbed him right in the back. I seriously thought he was done for, Crimea said, patting his body as she checked for any wounds. How is he? Commander Beale approached, leading a restrained Pekar soldier, and directed his question to Ares. Yes, there don't seem to be any external injuries. I believe he just passed out from stress. He should wake up soon, Ares reported. No way. Don't tell me he actually resisted my magic. The Pekar soldier's eyes widened in shock. Just look at him, what the hell, is he a monster? He muttered, his voice laced with disbelief and fear. Hollow Diamond. So, we're taking him with us, right? Kyle asked, nodding toward the man sprawled out on the ground. Of course, Crimea shot back. He has no family, he's just like the kids at the orphanage. I'll take care of him properly. Ares sighed. Here we go again. You do realize he's not some stray dog or cat, right? Well, putting that aside, we do need to decide how to handle him moving forward. Beale said, crossing his arms. At his age, placing him in an orphanage would be difficult. And then there's the language barrier. With his level of mana, who knows what will happen if he learns to use magic. Ares muttered cautiously. Besides, we still don't know who he really is. We should stay on guard. Yeah, but look, he ran away, and then he came back. He even helped us out. Doesn't that mean he's a decent guy? Kyle pointed out with a shrug. For the brief time they had fought together, Kyle found it hard to think poorly of him. I don't understand a word he says, but his calls weren't unreasonable. And if that giant boar didn't just show up by chance, if he actually brought it here? We'll have to observe him a bit more before making any conclusions, but for now, checking the situation takes priority. Kyle, can the cart be repaired? The cart, having endured relentless attacks, was barely recognizable. The only thing that hinted at its former shape was a single surviving wheel amidst the wreckage. No good. It's completely useless. Might make decent firewood, though and the meat's ruined too. Kyle sighed. Thought, our precious meat ruined. Commander, let's just kill him. Crimea exclaimed, her voice sharp with fury. Eek! The enemy soldier recoiled, his face twisting in terror at her sudden intensity. No, he's an important source of information. Beale said firmly. It's a shame about the bear meat, but... He pointed at the fallen giant boar. Right now, we need to return to base as quickly as possible. Take only what you can carry. First the cart, and now the horses too. Kyle, do something about it. Crimea huffed, clearly frustrated. Don't be ridiculous. Anti-gravity magic takes an insane amount of mana, and at best, it'd only lighten the load for about 5 minutes. Kyle shot back. Even after removing the internal organs, the total weight of the giant boar's meat was still around 440 pounds. If divided among 5 people, each would have to carry about 88 pounds, but unfortunately, none of them were used to carrying that much weight. It can't be helped. We'll just grab whatever we can carry. With that, Crimea quickly got to work butchering the boar, while the others began cleaning up the battlefield. From the protagonist's point of view, Uiokaiti. Hey, wake up. Suddenly, someone started squishing my cheeks, mushing them around. That was what woke me up. Apparently, I had fallen asleep. Wait, wasn't I supposed to have been stabbed by an icicle? Nope. Panicking, I ran my hand over my back. No blood. No holes, no injuries. And that girl, she seemed fine too. That's a relief. Most likely, Handsome handled it somehow. Korakora Mousasinai. Hey, don't ignore me. The girl cupped my face with both hands, making sure our eyes met as she spoke. Wow, her eyes are so green. Just like gemstones. She looks to be in her early 20s, a lively girl with her hair tied back. Oh, that's right, she's the one who was butchering the bear. Hee good morning. Is there a man alive who wouldn't melt from such unexpected skinship with a cute girl? No, absolutely not. Right now, the voices in my head were screaming in unison at a scale of 1,000. And on top of that, she was holding my cheeks with both hands, staring straight into my eyes. Could this be the kind of moment where a kiss would actually be allowed? Nakinkanara Sasado Okuro, if you're fine, then hurry up and get up. Just as I was getting swept up in the perfect mood, she suddenly smacked both of my cheeks hard. Reality came crashing back in an instant. Yeah, of course. As I got up and looked around, I noticed that all the scattered pieces of the fallen soldiers had completely vanished. They must have buried them in the forest. I remember hearing that leaving corpses out could cause the spread of disease. The green-eyed girl took my hand and led me toward the gathering of the others. Oh, Okataka, oh, you're awake. Handsome guy patted my shoulder thud and flashed a smile. He was acting oddly familiar. Not that I minded, but was it because we fought together? I see, so this is what it means to be comrades in arms. Beside the handsome guy stood the man who had fired that icicle at me from the forest. His hands were bound, and he glared at me with pure hatred. So he's the only survivor. That giant boar was truly overwhelming. It completely overturned what had been a losing battle in an instant. And now, looking at what remained of it before me, I couldn't help but feel a bit sentimental. All things must come to an end, huh? The once mighty giant boar had been completely skinned and butchered into neatly arranged sections. Hollow Diamond, Beale's point of view. Wow, you're so strong. Crimea hopped around excitedly, circling him with bright eyes. After the cart was destroyed, most of the meat had to be abandoned, leaving Crimea visibly disappointed. But upon seeing her dismay, he did something unbelievable. He hoisted nearly 220 pounds of boar meat onto his back, wrapped in its pelt. That's impossible. RS stood there, utterly stunned. Magic, anti-gravity, Kyle frowned. No, we already established he can't use magic since he doesn't even speak the language right. That's how it works, right? Beale glanced at the man carrying the massive load. With a body like that, having strength on par with a bear wouldn't be surprising. We'll deal with him later. Move out. Beale led the captured soldier along the forest path. The others shouldered their belongings and walked in formation around the prisoner, keeping a close watch on him. The man followed behind at a slight distance, but he kept pace. He likely wouldn't try to escape, but just in case, Ert was walking beside him. That said, if he seriously tried to run, I can't think of a way to stop him. Magic doesn't work on him. His strength and mana are completely absurd. Is there any way to restrain someone like that? However, if we could make him an ally of the Third Magic Knight Order. With both unease and anticipation weighing on his mind, Beale and the Third Magic Knight Order made their way toward the town where their garrison was located. Hollow Diamond, from the protagonist's point of view. Huff. I'm seriously regretting this right now. The moment I saw the cart broken beyond repair, I knew there was no way to transport the supplies. Then I noticed the green-eyed girl looking at it with an utterly devastated expression. And that's when the thought hit me, wouldn't it look badass if I just slung all that meat over my shoulder? I wrapped about half of the boar meat in its own hide and hoisted it onto my back. Must be around 220 pounds. Unlike a barbell, it was awkward to hold, making it feel a bit heavier. But once it was up, it was mine to carry. As I stomped forward with heavy steps, the green-eyed girl bounced around me, cheering excitedly. The small-framed boy stared wide-eyed in shock. Everyone was looking at me with pure amazement. Oh, being the center of attention isn't so bad. Feeling proud of my training, I carried the meat with a smug look for a full 30 minutes. And now, I was completely exhausted. Come to think of it, I never actually asked how much farther we had to walk.
Kanbare. Do your best.
With that half-hearted cheer in the background, I took short breaks as I kept walking. Hey, I can see you, Carry your own stuff. If I let my guard down, the blonde-haired girl would sneak her own belongings onto my back. With every step, my thighs started cramping more and more. Then, up ahead, I finally saw it, a city built of stone. Noticing our arrival, a group of what looked like soldiers began approaching from the gate. Finally we're here. I dropped my load right there and collapsed to my knees. Iooko so Yamashe. Welcome, this is the city of Yama. The green-eyed girl turned back to me with a smile. The cobblestone streets were wide enough for 2 carriages to pass each other comfortably. A river curved through the city, its gentle bends lined with deep greenery that cast cool shadows along the pathways. The red-tiled roofs and white stone walls, uniformly designed, stood out beautifully against the lush surroundings. As I took in this cityscape so vastly different from Japan, I found myself completely all out. Exhausted beyond my limits, I was now being carried along the main street, loaded onto a cart along with the baggage, the wheels clattering as the gatekeepers pulled me along. The mustached man and the handsome guy had already disappeared somewhere. The captured soldier was taken away by the gatekeepers. That guy, he kept glaring at me until the very end. Well, I guess I can't blame him for holding a grudge. Right now, the small framed boy was leading the way while a horse pulled the cart. Somehow, I felt like I was constantly being transported along with a pile of meat. But my legs are at their limit, so honestly, this is a lifesaver. No doubt I'm gonna be sore tomorrow. As I smirked, already looking forward to the muscle pain that would hit me the next day, the blonde-haired girl gave me a puzzled look. As always, she was comfortably seated on the cart. The green-eyed girl walked alongside the cart, her energy high as she chatted non-stop. She was probably explaining the city to me, but I didn't understand a single word. Not wanting to be rude, I nodded along with an occasional ahem. After taking a few turns, we arrived at a massive, imposing building. At its entrance was a deep green emblem featuring a bird. It was likely their base of operations. Chai Toautiako. Alright, we've arrived, the green-eyed girl called out as she stopped the cart. With no strength left in my legs, I practically rolled off the cart as I tried to get down. The small-framed boy looked at me with a troubled expression. Ah, I see, he's wondering how to transport me, isn't he? I can't walk, but it's not like I can't move. I'm fine, see. Back in the day, I used to go up and down the stairs at the park while doing a handstand. Yeah, people looking at me weirdly hasn't changed. The small-framed boy was staring at me in shock. The green-eyed girl, on the other hand, was excited. And the blonde-haired girl, she looked sleepy. No, wait, she was actually asleep. I felt completely at ease, relieved that we had made it to the city safely and that the atmosphere had become somewhat peaceful. But I should have thought things through. Even if they saved me, were they really good people? Was it really okay to trust them so easily? I hadn't been taken into the building. Instead, I was brought to a small shed outside. A thin layer of straw was scattered across the cold ground, barely offering any comfort. The wooden walls were covered in countless scratches and scuff marks. The lingering scent of animals filled the small shed. I was being held down, both of my arms restrained from either side. Stop, please, stop. Under normal circumstances, I could have easily shaken them off. But right now, I had no strength left in my lower body. Please, I'm begging you, stop. My face was burning, and sweat poured from every inch of my body, leaving me drenched. On the verge of tears, I desperately pleaded. But the green-eyed girl showed no mercy as she stepped closer, her voice sharp and unwavering. Ikar sono chanasai, enough, let go of that hand. Honestly, you need to take them off properly, or I can't wash you. Crimea forcefully stripped off his clothes and tossed them one after another toward Ares. Stop, whoa, this stinks. This isn't even a human smell. Ares recoiled. Just get on with the laundry, okay? Crimea ordered. You. Pinching his nose in disgust, Ares grabbed a pitchfork from the stable normally used for hay and used it to carry the clothes away. Covering his face with both hands, completely naked, he sobbed quietly. Without hesitation, Crimea splashed water over him. Having acted as an older sister figure at the orphanage, Crimea was no stranger to scrubbing down younger boys who would come back covered in mud. With practiced ease, she grabbed a horse brush and started scrubbing his back. Can you wash the front yourself? Hollow diamond. Ha. A dimly lit, narrow room enclosed by stone walls. Several broken sticks lay scattered across the floor, evidence of excessive beating. The chains of the handcuffs, fastened behind his back, clattered each time his body convulsed. I told you I don't know anything. 5 days had passed since then. Margrave Negan, the ruler of the northern mountain city of Yama, immediately dispatched his forces upon hearing Beale's report and began an investigation alongside a royal delegation from the capital. However, with the vast length of the border, the investigation was taking time. At Dry's castle in the royal capital, General Janmu, who was in charge of the eastern defense, held military meetings for several days. However, due to the severe lack of information, they were unable to formulate any countermeasures, let alone grasp the current situation. "Well, has he talked?" "Ah, Commander Beale, no, nothing yet. I see it can't be helped. From here on, I'll leave it to the doctor. You all, step outside." The guards left one by one, leaving only Beale, the man in the white coat, and the Pakir soldier in the room. "It doesn't matter who comes. I know nothing." Even after enduring this much, he still won't talk. Truly a soldier to be admired. As a fellow soldier, Beale couldn't help but feel a sense of respect. But right now, even the smallest piece of information was necessary. At that moment, the man in the white coat who had entered with Beale spoke up. "Ah, let me introduce myself. I am Train, a professor at the Magic Academy. I have no intention of torturing you, nor do I wish to extract any information from you." Rolling up the sleeves of his coat, Train spoke in a calm tone. Ignoring the silent glare from the Pakir soldier, Beale dropped into a chair near the door, crossed his arms, and closed his eyes. "If you ever feel like talking, just tell the man sitting over there." Train calmly continued, setting up various tools, glass bottles, measuring instruments, and an assortment of other equipment, filling the desk to the brim. "Do you know what's necessary to use magic? That's right, mana and knowledge. The more mana you have, the stronger your magic becomes. Water sphere." Train conjured a small water sphere, about the size of a baby's fist, right in front of the soldier's face. The amount of magic power can be increased to some extent through training, but ultimately, it depends on one's innate potential. As for me, my magic power is quite low, so this is the largest water sphere I can create. What is he even talking about? But knowledge is different. There is no limit to learning. The more you know, the more precise your imagination. And with a precise mental image, magic control improves dramatically. The yellowish water sphere began spinning in front of the soldier. "So thirsty. Do you know where the water in a water ball comes from?" Train continued, his voice unwavering. "The caster's magic power is converted into water. My lips are cracked, blood is seeping through. But this water ball," Train's eyes gleamed with interest. "It's made from the moisture extracted directly from your own body." Exclamation mark. "This is the result of pushing magical control to its absolute limit, Mew. I call this technique Sync Connect," Train declared. Next to the spinning water ball, another water ball appeared and began to rotate. "My entire body feels drained, I'm about to vomit. One more. My vision is blurring, my hands and feet are trembling. One more. My head feels like it's splitting open. In my experiments with students, 2 water balls caused headaches and nausea. At most, 4 led to complete unconsciousness." Saint, stop. "But I'm very curious, just how many water balls can a well-trained soldier from another nation withstand?" 6, 8, no, maybe even 10. Train spread his arms wide, his voice brimming with excitement. "Now then, let the research begin." Dry's Castle War Council. The Pakir Republic has officially declared war against the Narbonne Empire. His unit was part of a force that advanced along the border toward the Narbonne Empire, with multiple units following the same route. There was no intention of crossing into the kingdom's territory. The Pakir Republic has no plans for a military conflict with the kingdom. These are the findings confirmed through the prisoner's interrogation. The conference room of Dry's castle. This was the first time in 32 years that the top leaders from all sectors had gathered in one place. Seated at the head of the assembly was Chancellor Etham, accompanied by various ministers. Among them were the kingdom's highest-ranking military commanders, Left General Azur, Right General Janmu, and Admiral Ager. Also present were the 4 margraves of the borderlands and the counts governing each major city. A room that usually felt spacious was now packed to the brim. From his elevated throne, King Sarshu looked down upon them, his expression grim. "You claim ignorance? How shameless! How exactly did they manage to cross the border wall? Isn't this just a ploy to spread confusion? The kingdom has declared its neutrality in the war with the Narbonne Empire. We have a critical report as well." General Janmu, responsible for the defense of the kingdom's eastern region along the Pakir Republic's border, raised his voice. "Our investigation has confirmed that the border wall has disappeared. The wall is gone." "Yes. Not just a section, the entire border wall on the Pakar Republic's side has disappeared. A heavy silence filled the conference room. The ancient artifact that formed the border wall had always been absolute. It was a universal truth for all who lived on the O'Neill continent. Because of this unwavering trust, no physical walls had ever been constructed. For the wall to disappear without the mutual agreement of both nations was unthinkable. No, it should have been unthinkable. No way could the artifact have been destroyed. The artifact was protected by multiple layers of defensive magic. That's impossible. It's been hundreds of years. Could it have simply reached the end of its lifespan? For a moment, silence filled the room, then the conference erupted into chaos. The artifact in the northern region is protected by barrier magic, making it impossible to approach. In order to confirm its status, the king's presence will be required. And also, the head of the Republic must also be present, I assume. General Jonmu wiped the sweat glistening on his forehead and turned his gaze toward the king. King Sarshu, who had always disliked conflict, closed his eyes for a moment before speaking calmly. Very well. First, we must swiftly send an envoy to the Pakar Republic. With both parties present, we will confirm the status of the artifact and proceed with its reconfiguration. If they truly bear no hostility, they should comply. Hollow Diamond, Third Magic Night Order, Dining Hall. He sent them flying, just like trash. In the dining hall, several members of the Third Magic Night Order were drinking and excitedly listening to Ares's story. And on the way back, he casually walked alongside us while carrying the giant boar on his back. Without using any magic. Oh, come on, just because he's built like a red bear doesn't mean wait, you're serious. The Third Magic Night Order, commonly known as the Third, is responsible for guarding the kingdom's borders. It is a large force, consisting of approximately 600 knights and 100 staff members. Various branches are scattered across towns along the border, meaning that it is rare for all members to gather in one place. At the main headquarters in the town of Yama, around 100 people, including knight apprentices and staff, are stationed at all times. And you know what? His magic power is, gulp, several times greater than Commander Beale's. PFF'd. Qua, no way. Ares, come on, now you're just making stuff up. The apprentices laughed, assuming Ares was just joking. But then, from behind the counter where he had been working the stove, the head chef, Ubin, spoke up with a serious expression. That story's true. That guy was peeling potatoes with a straight face while Ert's icicle spells were slamming into his back. What the hell is with that guy? As usual, I have no idea what's going through his head. Ert's magic? Man, I'm jealous. Even if he was fine, that didn't mean it was okay to just fire off attack magic at someone. The fact that Ert had done it so naturally left the apprentices utterly dumbfounded. Hey, isn't that guy starting to talk a little more? Oh yeah, looks like Crimia's been teaching him some words. For real, man, I wanna learn from her too. Crimia, with her caring nature, stunning looks, and great figure, was extremely popular among the apprentices. Ert, on the other hand, though her personality aside, was also a beauty, and had a small but intensely devoted group of fans. So, Ares, is that guy gonna join the Night Order? Commander Beale seems to want him in. He can't use magic yet, but with that much mana eventually, he'd be a huge asset. Though, his background, yeah, that might be a problem. But honestly, I just can't believe it. Higher mana than Commander Beale? No wah. Besides, what good is a magicless idiot? We don't need someone like that in the Third. Right, no matter how much mana he has, if he can't use it, it's pointless. The Third Magic Night Order frequently handles border security, which is why many of its members come from orphanages. However, that doesn't mean joining is easy. Since they operate in the frontier, skill is valued over status. The trainees here have all passed rigorous tests and interviews to earn their place. The fact that he couldn't even speak their language, let alone use magic, made it even more frustrating. It wouldn't sit right if some man with a dubious background, who couldn't even communicate properly, was allowed to join so easily. Of course, jealousy played a part too. After all, Crimea, the object of their admiration, seemed to have taken an interest in him. For the trainees, their impression of him was overwhelmingly negative. Well, he's joining the next combat training session, isn't he? If you're so curious, why don't you test those rumors for yourselves? Finishing up his work, Ubin poured himself a drink and spoke. Yeah, and if any of you manage to beat him, I'll treat you to drinks for 3 whole days. It's been 2 months since I got here. During the day, I help out in the kitchen or take care of the horses. At night, Crimea and Ares teach me the language. Now I can manage basic conversations. The grammar is the same as Japanese, so all I really had to do was memorize vocabulary. That made things a lot easier. Also, Ares told me something surprising: my mana capacity is ridiculously high. I still don't know how to use magic, but apparently, I can pretty much nullify spells cast on me. I finally figured out my cheat ability. Or at least, I think I did. Probably something like absurdly high mana. Maybe this is hilarious. For now, it's kind of a useless ability since I still don't know how to use magic. But if the side effect is that I can nullify enemy spells, then maybe I actually hit the jackpot. Man, I wish I could go back and tell my past self back when I was desperately dodging spells with nothing but side-to-side shuffling. Alright, that's the end of today's lesson. You need to get some sleep since you'll be joining the combat training tomorrow, okay? Thanks, Crimea. No, it's Teacher Crimea. Say it, teacher. Or you can call me Big Sis Crimea, if you prefer. Sure, Teacher Crimea. The word teacher felt strange to say, considering she was obviously younger than me. No, age doesn't matter, I'm the one learning from her, so I need to show proper appreciation. An icicle flew toward my back just as I was reflecting on my thoughts. That's right, you may also call me Lady Urt. This girl, whenever she has free time, she fires magic at me. She's seriously dangerous. Well, not that it actually works on me. But still, when an icicle suddenly flies right at your face, of course, you're gonna be like, whoa, what the hell? And apparently, she finds that reaction hilarious, because she keeps firing them mercilessly. I swear, what if my magic resistance suddenly stopped working? I'd die, you know. I haven't learned anything from you at all. Not even a single strand, and yet you act all high and mighty, like you're not just a kid. Wait, what? Yeah, I think you should speak more respectfully to Urt-Onichan too. Hold up. She saw me that time. Back in Japan, if you don't have hair down there, people think you're still a kid. But wait, does this world have the same standard? As someone who's into weight training, I always made sure to keep my body clean, especially after sweating. Plus, having smooth, hair-free skin made my muscles look better. That's why I went all out and got full body hair removal. And, well, I kinda went a little too far down there too. I mean, come on, having no body hair is just more hygienic, right? But I never imagined it would come back to bite me like this. Come back and talk big once it's fully grown smoothie. Urt patted my head as she said it. Wait, it's permanent hair removal. It's never growing back, ever. So, along with my cheat ability, I've now also discovered something else. In this world, I'm permanently stuck being treated like a kid. Hollow Diamond. Meanwhile, at the training grounds. There, sync your chanting with the others. Move, the enemy's gonna fire spells at you too. Keep chanting even while dodging. Kyle's sharp commands echoed through the training grounds attached to the garrison. The trainees fired their spells at human-shaped targets, following the commands given. However, attacking while constantly moving to avoid enemy fire proved to be far more difficult than expected. Their accuracy was still far from ideal. Until now, the 3rd Magic Knight Order's combat training had primarily focused on ambush tactics and trap setting, designed for encounters with large beasts. There was also training for dealing with bandits and outlaws, but most of them were uneducated and had low mana, making them not much of a threat. However, after experiencing the recent battle against the Pakar army, Beale predicted that combat against human opponents would be crucial from now on. As a result, he began emphasizing practical combat training. The Pakar army was formidable, using combined magic and coordinated wave attacks. With the border wall now gone, the 3rd Magic Knight Order and the armies of the border Margraves have effectively become the kingdom's last line of defense against foreign invasions. A joint training exercise with Margrave Negan's forces is also scheduled in the near future, making cooperation between the kingdom and the nobility more crucial than ever. However, since then, there have been no reports from the 3rd Magic Knight Order or Margrave Negan's forces who are responsible for border security of any further encounters with the Pakar army. Interrogations of the captured soldier revealed that the Pakar forces were unaware they had crossed the border. Beale and his team had wiped out the entire enemy squad, leaving only one survivor, who was taken as a prisoner and brought here to Yama. In other words, there is a possibility that the Pakar Republic is completely unaware that a battle has taken place between them and the Sashu Kingdom. During the recent war council held at Dry's Castle, it was decided that an envoy would be dispatched to the Pakar Republic. However, considering the selection process for the envoy and the time required for the journey, it is highly likely they have yet to arrive. The Pakar Republic may still be unaware that they have mistakenly crossed the border wall and advanced into the Sashu Kingdom's territory. That soldier had said, "There are several other units using the same route as us." Driven by a sense of urgency to strengthen their forces in preparation for the impending crisis, Beale's eyes wavered with deep concern. Where are the other Pakar forces right now? The fact that each day passed in peace, unchanged, only made Beale feel all the more uneasy. The dense forest near the border is rarely visited, as large beasts sometimes appear. However, some lords actively promote forest development projects to increase their own land's productivity. By offering temporary tax exemptions and financial aid, they attract people to settle and cultivate untouched land. The village of Swallow is one such place. Danis, the village chief, used to work as a guard in a city within the domain of Margrave Negan. However, after losing an arm in an accident, he was forced to retire. He had a wife and a young daughter, and now, with another baby on the way, his responsibilities were only growing. Struggling to figure out how he would support his family, Danis was approached by his former superior, Kane. "Would you consider leading a group of settlers to clear the forest as a village chief?" Without hesitation, he leapt at the offer. Kane had always highly regarded Danis for his work ethic and strong sense of responsibility. So when the land development project began, he was the first to recommend Danis as village chief. Despite the handicap of having only one arm and the many hardships he faced, the settlement steadily grew. The village's livestock flourished, and harvests had become more reliable in recent years. The population, which had started with just 15 settlers, had grown to 45 over the past decade. Recently, with war breaking out in a neighboring country, the price of crops had risen higher than usual. Danis felt conflicted about the village thriving because of the war, but he was content knowing that none of his people would go hungry. One day, a letter arrived for Danis. It was from his former superior, Kane, the very man who had recommended him for the position of village chief. Kane's letter stated that he had retired from the city guard and was now running an inn in the city of Yama. He mentioned that he was busy and short on staff and asked if he could hire Danis' daughters. In exchange, he promised to send both of them to school. Swallow Village was still too small to have a school. Danis could only teach so much himself, and more than anything, he had always wanted to send his beloved daughters to school. Danis hesitated. He worried about being apart from his precious daughters and, more than anything, he would miss them terribly. But before he knew it, they had already grown to 13 and 11 years old. Children in the city started school much earlier. Besides, Kane was a trustworthy man and old friend, even. This letter was surely written with Danis' daughters in mind, offering them a better future. After many discussions with his wife, Danis made his decision. For the sake of their daughter's future, he entrusted them to Kane. Hollow Diamond. The sisters had always dreamed of the city. Red roofs and white walls, wide cobblestone streets where girls in cute outfits walked, and market stalls overflowing with foods they had never seen before. This village is nothing but dirt and grass. I'm so tired of seeing the same thing every day. Big sis, there are sweet pastries in the city too, right? That sounds amazing. I really want to try them. To reach Swallow Village, which was being developed near the border, one had to pass through a dense forest. Because of this, merchants traveling from the city would stay overnight in the village. However, since there were no lodging facilities, they inevitably ended up staying at the village chief's house, which was the largest in the village. During dinner, the merchants would share stories of the dazzling city, the bustling streets, the newest sweets, and even rumors of children lurking in the dimly lit alleys. Every tale was thrilling for the sisters. Someday, I want to go to the city too. It was only natural for such feelings to rise within them. However, as the village chief's daughters, they had always assumed they would spend their lives working for the village, having all but given up on the idea. And then, the opportunity to live in the city while attending school came up. The sisters jumped with joy. They had heard that Kane and his wife were kind people. Besides, they were already used to simple cooking, sewing, and cleaning, so they weren't worried about working at the inn. But more than anything, the thought of finally going to the city they had always dreamed of filled them with excitement. "All right, Mom, Dad, we're off. I'm going sniff. With the older sister brimming with energy and the younger sister sniffling as she struggled with leaving home, the two set off from Swallow Village toward Yama, traveling with the merchants from the city. They're gone, huh? Oh, come on, don't look so down. The letter said they'd be coming home during the off-season, didn't it? I feel like I've aged 10 years all at once. Oh dear, you can't be turning into an old man on me just yet. Donnie's wife watched the carriage grow smaller in the distance, then smacked his hunched back with a firm pat. I wonder will they be meeting a little brother or a little sister when they come home next? Wait, are you serious? This is huge. As she watched Donnie's fluster in surprise, his wife gently rubbed her belly, a warm smile on her face. Hollow Diamond, small farming village, 10 kilometers northwest. No soldiers. Population, 30 to 40. Surrounded by a wooden fence. We move at night. Follow standard procedure. Kill all Imperials. After receiving the scout's report, Nelvis, commander of the 6th Engineer Corps of the Pakar Republic, nodded and relayed the order without hesitation. He had no need to question it, orders were orders. His troops immediately began forming an encirclement around the village. The Engineer Corps was a unit specialized in civil engineering and construction. They were responsible for demolishing enemy fortifications and natural obstacles, building field fortifications, and constructing roads. Their mission was to establish multiple strongholds within Imperial territory. The empire was vast, and securing massive amounts of supplies, provisions, fuel such as firewood, and feed for horses was essential for advancing troops. For this reason, establishing strongholds at key locations was necessary. All units are in position. We will begin the operation as soon as the sun sets. A village of this size was honestly too small to serve as a proper stronghold, and it wouldn't be enough to resolve supply shortages. However, where there's a village, there's usually a town nearby. As a foothold for launching an attack on the town, this place was better than nothing. Besides, most of the Pakar Republic's forces were mercenaries rather than regular soldiers. It had been 2 weeks since the advance began, and maintaining discipline among them required a release valve at some point. Listen up. Pillaging comes later. Secure the area swiftly like lions racing through the night. Swallow Village vanished from the map 6 months after the sisters had set off for the city. The night apprentices were not training at their usual grounds but were instead heading on an expedition to the forest near the border. For the next week, they would undergo combat training in this deep wilderness, simulating real battle scenarios. From here on, you will be divided into squads and tasked with capturing the stronghold at the designated goal. This will be a practical exercise, so the use of offensive magic is, of course, permitted. Equip the bracelets you have been issued. Since magic knights wield spells capable of taking lives in a single strike, their combat training utilizes magical tools to ensure safety. Bracelet of Suppression, a bracelet-shaped magical tool commonly used to restrain criminals. When worn, it suppresses the wearer's mana to a certain level, reducing or even nullifying the power of magical attacks. As a result, even if a spell that would normally cause fatal injuries is cast, the target will at most lose consciousness. Among the trainees listening to the briefing, a large-built man was restlessly glancing around, his expression uneasy. A few of the nearby trainees, watching him out of the corner of their eyes, began whispering among themselves. Hey, look, he actually showed up. Ha, that magicless idiot, we'll take him down in no time. Hey, that free booze is ours for the taking. The bet that had started in the mess hall the other day quickly spread among the other apprentices, who had few forms of entertainment. One after another, they flocked to Ubin, eager to join in. All right, if you're in, it's 3,000 nils per head. What, you're charging us? A bet ain't fun unless there's something to win and something to lose, ya idiot. Ubin, ever the schemer, made sure to charge an entry fee not just to spur any potential losses, but to guarantee a profit. And now, all eyes were on the one at the center of the bet, him. Hey, here's your magic tool, make sure you strap it on both arms properly. The kid next to him handed over the magic tool. The guy, who had looked kinda nervous, accepted it with a relieved expression and quickly started fastening the bracelets onto his wrists. Make sure you wear them right. You wanna die or what? Wow, how nice of them. Oh, and wrap some cloth around them so the bracelets don't show. Huh, why, duh, to keep them from getting scratched. Oh boy, they got him already. Normally, the bracelet is worn on just one arm, but they made him put it on both. Clearly, they're planning to suppress his mana as much as possible. Well, whatever, this might be fun. Kyle, who had been casually watching over him, decided to turn a blind eye. After all, even if this was just training, letting your guard down during preparation was unacceptable. If this were a real battlefield, the one who got tricked would be the one at fault. His first training session, and it's a combat drill. Talk about bad luck. Still, his squad is full of real characters. Or rather, it feels like they just threw together all the misfits. Was that on purpose? Jork, the lowest ranked in performance. Helm, the difficult one. Yoicho, who specializes only in daily life magic. Naru, the scaredy cat. And him, the one who can't use magic at all. His squad was clearly the worst compared to the others. However, in order to bypass the usual exams and procedures and get him into the order, he needed to prove his worth in a situation stacked against him. Only by delivering high results despite these disadvantages could his usefulness be demonstrated to those around him. Just like the miraculous comeback against the overwhelming odds of the Pakar army. The commander is surprisingly strict when it comes to training. Even if he has perfect magic resistance, that doesn't necessarily mean he can use it effectively in battle. After all, simply blocking magic is something that can be done with magical tools as well. Each unit, check your gear and disperse into the forest immediately. Wait for the signal. Hollow Diamond. Gustin, a squire of the 3rd Magic Knight Order, was brimming with enthusiasm from the early morning. The reason? Because today's combat training would include that guy, a mere errand boy, not a knight or anything of the sort. Gustin, a noble who already harbored disdain for the presence of orphans and commoners within the Knight Order, could never bring himself to welcome that guy, a so-called cursed child picked up from the forest. To make matters worse, despite not even being a proper member of the Order, he interacted far too familiarly with the full-fledged knights. This only intensified Gustin's resentment. Gustin and his entourage had devised a plan for today's training, to utterly crush that man and drive him out of the 3rd Magic Knight Order. For all his bluster, Gustin's mana reserves were unmatched among his peers. His chant speed and control were nearly on par with the elite ranks. However, his excessively high pride got in the way. He refused to coordinate with commoners. Because of this, his performance in team battles suffered, and despite his raw talent, his overall evaluation remained only slightly above average. Gustin was the 3rd son of House Balad, a baronial family that governed a small territory near the border. He deeply admired the 1st Magic Knight Order, which was composed solely of nobles. However, as the 3rd son of a rural noble family, he had neither the connections nor the qualifications to join. Still, as a 3rd son with no right to inherit the family estate, he couldn't afford to drift aimlessly forever. Left with no other choice, he joined the 3rd Magic Knight Order. His dream was to rise through the ranks of the 3rd and one day earn the recognition of the 1st Magic Knight Order's commander, securing his place among them. We'll drive him out and win the bet. Man, I can already taste the booze. But, I've heard he can resist all magic, you know. Yeah, right, that's just a rumor blown way out of proportion. There's no way that's true. Ain't that right, Gustin? Gustin narrowed his eyes and spoke with arrogant confidence. HMPH, it's only because he's faced nothing but weak magic from commoners. I, a noble, shall show him what real magic looks like. Oh, you're joining tomorrow's training. Training. Kyle informed me about the training while I was in the middle of battling a mountain of dishes in the mess hall. The barracks of the 3rd Magic Knight Order in Yama housed many members. Full-fledged knights like Ares and Crimea often went out to eat in the city, but the apprentices didn't have that luxury. The mess hall within the Knight Order provided meals at an incredibly low price, with large portions. On top of that, knights could put it on their tab, making the taste of the food a secondary concern. During mealtimes, the vast mess hall would be packed wall to wall. Because of that, I was usually dragged into this battlefield-like mess hall during peak hours. Right now, I'd say we're at the cleaning up after the battle phase. Oh, look who it is. Kyle, huh, must be nice, kicking back with a drink in the middle of the day. The hell I am. If I were drinking, I'd go somewhere with decent booze. Ha, damn right you would. Even I wouldn't waste my time here for that. Ubin let out a snort, pouring a cup of liquor and sliding it across the counter to Kyle. What kind of training are we talking about? I've never done anything like that before. Relax, relax. It's nothing serious, practically a game. Besides, this is for your sake, you know. Kyle took a swig from his cup, only to make a sour face. Damn it, Ubin, you watered this down too much. Shut up, ya idiot. I thinned it out so you wouldn't get wasted in the middle of the damn day. It's called looking out for ya, try appreciating it, dumbass. I finished washing the last plate, then ladled some leftover soup from the pot and grabbed a piece of black bread before sitting down next to Kyle. Today's soup was packed with potatoes and plenty of meat. Recently, the Night Order had been patrolling the border more frequently, and according to Ubin, they'd been hunting beasts along the way. Thanks to that, there wouldn't be any meat shortages for a while. Why for me, I tore off a piece of the tough black bread and soaked it in the soup. It tasted kind of like chicken bone cream stew, pretty good, actually. Surprisingly, this world had a wide variety of seasonings. So unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to whip up some dish from my old world, and here, I've never tasted anything this amazing before. This mayonnaise stuff is incredible. Sell me the recipe. Too bad. Well, you know you're, unemployed, right? Huh, unemployed. Wait, I'm unemployed. A shocking revelation. They had me cleaning the stables, helping in the kitchen, pulling weeds, doing all sorts of stuff. And I'm still unemployed. I'm taking this to HR. Wait. This world doesn't even have an HR department. Damn it. You're technically under our protection for now, but normally, we'd help you find a job somewhere and send you on your way. Thing is, everyone's been too busy to deal with that, so your situation's kinda in limbo. I mean, yeah, now that I think about it, I never actually signed a contract or anything. Can't deny that I've kinda just been hanging around. You know, we can't exactly afford to just feed you for free, Kyle said. That's why you're stuck doing odd jobs. It's basically day labor. So if I take a day off, well, then, ya dumbass, you go to bed hungry and sleep in the stable. At some point, Ubin had made his way back to the counter and was already drinking again. That's where our kind-hearted Amander Beale comes in, Kyle continued. He's decided to officially hire you. This training session is basically your entrance exam. Oh, you better be grateful to Beale, Ubin chimed in. Not just anyone gets to join a Night Order, ya know. The boss is the king himself, ya got yourself a damn stable job. So the Night Order answers directly to the king. That makes it kinda like a government job. Come to think of it, I heard that the city guard is hired directly by the local lord. If it's a choice between serving the king or a noble, then yeah, working for the king is definitely the safer bet. Hey, just out of curiosity, what other job options do I even have? A job you could do. How about a freak show? Ubin smirked. The hell, there's gotta be more than that. Who the hell's gonna hire some wild man straight out of the forest, barely speaking the language, and shady as all hell? Use your damn head, idiot. Yeah, I guess I really am just some suspicious drifter with no fixed address right now. But in the isekai stories I know, the protagonist usually becomes an adventurer and gets some kind of identification. Is there no such thing as adventurers here? Oh, what, you wanna be an adventurer now? I glanced over and saw that Ubin was already on his third cup of booze. Forget it, there's no middle ground in that line of work. You're either a nobody or a legend, and you wouldn't make it. Is it really that tough? Ubin rolled up the hem of his pants. A prosthetic leg. The left leg he revealed was wooden from the knee down. I got off easy, lost only a leg, after all. As Ubin ran his hand over the grainy wooden surface of his prosthetic leg, his gaze drifted into the distance. For a moment, his face looked lonely. Someone he knew, maybe a comrade, must have died back then. Ubin was one of the top adventurers back in the day. Our order used to hire him for jobs through the guild all the time. Yeah, well, thanks to those connections, I managed to scrape by even after retiring due to my injury. But most guys, one bad injury and they're tossed aside like garbage. And then there's. As he adjusted the hem of his pants, Ubin shot me a pitying look. You can't use a single spell. If you became an adventurer, there wouldn't be any jobs for you, you know. Alright, I'll give it my all for the test. Kyle downed the rest of his drink in one gulp and stood up. As he walked toward the exit, he waved a hand lazily behind him and spoke. No need to get so worked up. Just treat it like a field trip and take it easy. Damn it, Kyle, what do you mean, take it easy? This is way too serious. Apparently, we were about to spend an entire week surviving in the forest. People were scrambling to check their gear, discuss strategies, and size up the other squads. The guy who was nice enough to explain things to me earlier turns out he's in a different group. Honestly, that's a shame. I still struggle with complicated words, so having someone like him around was a huge help. Oh, he's looking this way. Guess I'll just wave at him. Where am I supposed to go? I glanced around, taking in the busy crowd of trainees scrambling to prepare. Among them, one group stood out, moving sluggishly compared to the rest. A bespectacled guy muttered to himself. A young man with an uncertain smile stood beside him, and behind them, a girl with a bob cut hovered as if trying to hide. They said each squad had 5 members, right? Then that must be my team. Yo, you're that guy, right? The one everyone's been talking about lately. A sudden pat on the shoulder made my heart jump. Getting tapped on the shoulder out of nowhere, it's a uniquely Japanese kind of anxiety. I turned around to see a grinning young man. I'm Jork. Honestly, it sucks that we ended up in the same squad, but whatever. Let's get going. Somehow, that felt like an insult. But whatever, at least I felt relieved. If they had suddenly said, form a 5-person group now, I would have definitely ended up alone. Having a squad already assigned is the best. Do we really have to take him? Sorry, but we're full. Nope, nope, nope. No way. Maybe we should just team up with the teacher, yeah. Wait, that was a very sad flashback. As I was lost in thought, Jork practically shoved me forward, dragging me toward our squad. A rumor, huh? Well, I guess it's only natural for these well-trained muscles to become the talk of the town. Wait, they're not talking about that smooth part, are they? Crimea wouldn't say anything, but Earth he totally would. Then again, that guy doesn't have any friends, so maybe I'm safe. Anyway, first impressions are key. Time to make a strong entrance. This is where my sales skills come into play. Nice to meet you all. This is my first time training, but I'll do my best to be the oil that keeps this team running smoothly. This is the worst. Oi, glasses. The hell kinda greeting is that? I can nullify magic, but words still hurt, damn it. Aha, I'm Yoicho. Nice to meet you. And the girl behind me is Naru. She's really shy. Yoicho turned and gave Naru an encouraging nudge. Come on, Naru, say hi. Naru stiffened like a statue. Hello. She was so nervous she could barely get the words out. Her stammering made her sound less like a person and more like a glitching wind-up toy. Damn, now I feel bad for putting her on the spot. Alright, now that we've got everyone, let's move out. No time to waste, right? Move out. That's reckless beyond belief. We should analyze our strengths, form a proper strategy first. Why do I have to be stuck with a group like this? This is the worst. Haha, come on, Helm. Don't be like that. You know Jork, his body moves before his brain does. What do you mean, rely on me? You should move your own damn feet before asking others for help. How can you not understand something so basic? You really are the worst. I swear, people who just dump everything onto others are never mind. There's no point in explaining this to you. Clearly, I'm the only one who can take charge and make a proper plan here. What are you standing around for? If you've got time to be useless, then at least teach that big guy over there the rules. This guy's the type who makes enemies in every direction. I've seen plenty of his kind back in my FPS gaming days, the ones who never listen to anyone else, insist their way is the only right way, and then, when things go south, blame everyone else for being incompetent. They're usually the ones who start raging over voice chat and end up getting blocked. Haha, sorry about that. Okay, let's go over the basics first. For this training exercise, I like to call it tagging training, but you probably don't know what that is, do you? Unfortunately, not a clue. I see. Well, let me explain. Tagging training is a battle exercise where the main objective is to capture the stronghold at the goal point, but each squad would disperse into the forest and, at the signal, make their way toward the stronghold. The squad occupying the stronghold at the end of the exercise would be declared the winner. Searching for and hindering enemy squads along the way was completely allowed. Yoicho had kindly explained the rules in detail. If a squad managed to incapacitate an enemy, they could collect the opponent's name tag, which would later count as individual points. So that's why they call it tagging training. However, squad points for occupying the stronghold were considered far more important than individual points in terms of evaluation. Well, of course, the military is all about teamwork. Yoicho explained everything so clearly that even I, who knew absolutely nothing, could follow along. Despite looking somewhat unreliable, he was actually the most dependable one so far. To get a better grasp of our squad's overall strength, could you tell me what type of magic you specialize in? Oh, and your equipment has arrived. It seems a bit unusual. Now that he mentioned it, Kyle had told me that I'd be getting my own set of gear for this training. Apparently, it wasn't anything extravagant, just something custom-made since they didn't have any equipment in my size. Let's see him. So all the apprentice knights wear matching black light armor. The basic design was the same for everyone, but mine had more metal parts, giving it a heavier, more solid feel. Looked like it weighed about 22 pounds. On top of that, I was issued a tower shield. It was rectangular and big enough that if I crouched down, my whole body would be completely covered. Yeah, I get it. They want me to be the tank. Well, since I can apparently nullify most magic and have both strength and endurance, they must have gone with heavy armor to maximize my defense. Haha, that looks cool. But it's way too heavy for me, I'd never be able to wear that. What is that gear? Are you sure you can even walk properly in it? I won't tolerate any delays because of you. If you slow us down, it'll completely throw off my carefully planned schedule. Helm let out an exasperated sigh and complained, but honestly, he should take it up with his commander. This setup was probably Beel's idea. What about you? What type of magic do you use, huh? Jork and Naru are offensive, Yoicho is support, and I handle healing. So ideally, you'd have earth or ice magic to balance things out. Movement magic would be the best, but well, that's rare, so I won't get my hopes up. At the very least, you should have some kind of offensive. Sorry, I still can't use magic. This is truly the worst. The tall grass, reaching up to my waist, bent under the weight of my shield as I pushed forward, creating a path for the team. It was tedious, but clearing the way like this was still faster than trying to push through by hand. Someone small like Naru could easily get separated if we weren't careful. But once a path was made, she could follow without getting lost, and she wouldn't have to waste energy forcing her way through the undergrowth. Well, that just meant all the exhaustion was piling up on me instead. Since I couldn't use magic, I had to make up for it with sheer stamina. Haha, I'd heard the rumors, but I didn't actually think you couldn't use magic. Oh, so that's what the rumor was about. Thank God it wasn't about the smooth part. Walking right behind me, Yoicho chatted casually while using detection magic to scan the surroundings. Helm, on the other hand, seemed to have little to no social life. He hadn't heard a single thing about me. Hell, he didn't even know about the betting match at the tavern, the one everyone had been buzzing about. That just proved how out of touch he really was. Ubin straight up threatened me, saying, "Ya better not lose to anyone. If ya win, I win big. But if ya lose, I ain't letting ya off easy." Nay, Yoicho Naru heard this from grandma, you know. Bad kids have their magic sealed away by the gods and then their mana builds up inside them until boom. They explode and die. So sad. Oi, is it true you've got more mana than the commander? Did your body get big 'cause of all that mana building up? So when's the boom happening, huh? And no, this is all muscle, I'm not gonna explode, and stop backing away. At that moment bang, a sharp, dry sound echoed through the sky. And instantly, I felt every pair of eyes on me. Oi, my body didn't just explode, alright. Stop looking at me like that. The explosion came from a fireball cast into the sky by one of the knights overseeing the combat training, Maftis, the fire mage. This was the signal. The 1-week-long combat training had officially begun. In general, each squad follows its pre-planned route, aiming to reach the stronghold as quickly as possible. This is because of the rule of 3 for attackers, an established principle stating that when attacking a stronghold, an assaulting force should have 3 times the number of defenders. Defense is overwhelmingly advantageous, making direct assaults far more difficult. Additionally, the faster a squad reaches the stronghold, the more time they have to reinforce it and set up traps. Because of this, the key strategy in tagging training is to carefully select lightweight equipment, take the shortest possible route, and seize the stronghold before any other squad can. However, this training session was different from usual. Instead of taking the shortest route to the stronghold, each squad had chosen paths that prioritized reconnaissance, focusing more on gathering intelligence than speed. On top of that, some squads were even forming secret alliances behind the scenes. Of course, this wasn't against the rules. Deception and strategy are vital aspects of warfare, after all. This situation was entirely Ubin's fault. He was the one who started the bet, using him as the centerpiece. Ironically, though, thanks to this bet, the training had become much more like real combat. Yeah, they're clearly targeting us. Sensing their presence still at a distance, Yoicho quietly began casting a spell. A small whirlwind formed around him, knocking down the surrounding grass. In mere moments, it had carved out a 3-meter-wide mystery circle. Whoa, that's awesome, Yoicho, so you're good at wind magic? Haha, nah, I'm just good at cleaning spells. In truth, Yoicho could only use what was commonly known as daily life magic. A gentle soul, he struggled to picture himself harming others, which made it difficult for him to cast offensive spells properly. Even the whirlwind spell he just used was originally meant for cleaning, designed to sweep dust off the floor and out the door. Incidentally, the detection spell he had learned was primarily to find Naru, who tended to wander off and get lost. Jork and I dug a rectangular trench in the center of the cleared circle, creating a simple fortification. The soil was soft and easy to dig through. It wasn't its intended use, but my shield was proving incredibly useful. Wait a second, could it be? Yep, just as I thought. The motion of gripping both ends of the shield and digging into the ground, it's just like a kettlebell swing for training the glutes and legs. A kettlebell is a weight shaped like a round ball with a handle, kind of like a heavy iron teapot used for strength training. By incorporating workouts into daily activities, I can naturally build muscle. Honestly, it would be great if I could just create walls with earth magic like Commander Beale, but adding a little extra value to a simple task like this makes even the toughest grunt work feel more enjoyable. Funny how that works. Finally, we propped up some grass around the trench to block the view from outside. Phew, that was a good workout. Man, I could go for a bath right now. A bath is impossible, but I could at least fill the trench with water. A mini pool, that actually sounds kinda nice. But since I have no idea how many hours we'll be stuck waiting in here, I'll pass on that for now. Back in my old world, during World War I, there was a disease called trench foot. It was caused by prolonged exposure to wet and unsanitary conditions. Just imagining people losing their feet to necrosis from something like that terrifying. As soon as we finished the trench, Yoicho used search magic to scan the surroundings. It looked like he had detected an enemy squad. Oh, just as you predicted, Helm. They're already here. Of course they are, but even though this was expected, it's still the worst. You guys have it easy. All you have to do is follow my plan. Helm was a strategist at heart. He loved reading and spent most of his time playing strategy board games alone. He excelled at devising battle plans, but his strategies often ignored human emotions like pairing up people who were clearly incompatible. As a result, his success rate was low. To Helm, failure was never his fault. It was always because someone didn't follow his plan properly. He scoffed at those who failed to grasp his carefully calculated strategies, dismissing them as fools. But his harsh attitude only drove people away. Helm was trapped in a vicious cycle. Because he lacked experience in socializing, he couldn't understand people's emotions. And because he couldn't understand people's emotions, he avoided socializing altogether. Helm, with his slightly distrustful nature, devised a strategy based on the assumption that their squad would be targeted by other teams. With such an unbalanced squad, fighting head-on would only lead to defeat. To counter this, Helm planned to use the shield to deliberately leave obvious tracks, luring enemy squads into their makeshift stronghold and forcing the battle into a defensive engagement. If it's a defensive battle, then we still have a chance of winning. 3 hours had passed since the training signal was given, and the trail left behind in the grassland was easy to spot. Of course, we knew right away that this was the path his squad had taken. No doubt about it, this was the mark left by that massive shield he was dragging. And let's be real, there's only one guy lugging around gear that heavy, it's gotta be him. Our squad entered the forest a little after his did. We had already checked which direction he was headed beforehand, so we had a pretty good idea of where to find him. Pretty smart of us, Most of the squads in this training are just here for the bet with Ubin, so if we don't take him down early, someone else might beat us to it. There they are, over there, hit him with everything we've got. What's that? They already setting up camp? Guess they've given up on winning. A circular clearing appeared in the middle of the grasslands. Looks like those guys are planning to camp here. Feels a little early for that, but then again, lugging around all that heavy gear must have drained their stamina. Makes sense. They're trying to hide in that trench or whatever, but come on, it's obvious. That squad's full of nobodies, let's just crush 'em head on. I'll finally get Crimea to have a drink with me. Strength in numbers, you know. Keep pushing forward. Stone bullet, stone bullet. When this training is over, I'm gonna confess to Earth and ask her to step on me. Thought. Multiple voices cried out at once. Hollow diamond. From the protagonist's point of view, the enemy squad had eagerly followed the obvious trail we had left, marching straight toward our makeshift stronghold. Without hesitation, they launched their attack. A barrage of tiny stone bullets, conjured by earth magic, rained down upon us not as pinpoint strikes, but as a full-scale area assault. This meant one thing: the enemy squad didn't have a clear view of what was inside our trench. If they could see us, they would have concentrated their attacks on a single point for maximum efficiency and psychological pressure. Instead, their scattered earth magic spells, probing for our positions, were weak enough that my shield alone was more than sufficient to block them. That's about it. You two okay? I'm fine. Naru is fine, totally fine. A tank, you're a bit of a hassle to work with. Just what was the commander thinking? A wall made with earth magic would have been far more efficient. Naru cowered, holding her head as the small stones flew overhead, her eyes welling up with tears. Meanwhile, I felt underwhelmed as I caught the impact of the attacks against my shield. It was no worse than getting hit with pebbles against a wooden board. To be honest, compared to the magic that Crimea and Kyle unleashed, this was weak. Hell, even Earth's magic, where he suddenly launched icicles as thick as an arm straight at my face, was way scarier. Wait, don't tell me Earth saw this coming. Was he trying to get me used to being attacked with magic? No way, that bastard was just having fun. He definitely did it for the sheer joy of violence. But now that I was actually taking hits from the knight apprentices, I could really see just how powerful the official knights and the Pakar army were. How should I put it? Well, it was obvious, but the apprentices didn't have even a shred of killing intent. After surviving 2 life-or-death situations in such a short time, first against the giant boar, then the Pakar army, I found myself strangely composed. Compared to the tension of those battles, where every single strike carried lethal force, this felt like nothing more than a game. Hey, Naru, we should probably start fighting back, or they'll get suspicious. Right now, it was just me, Naru, and Helm at the stronghold. Helm's plan was to split our squad into 2 groups, one to draw enemy attention to the stronghold, while Jork and Yoicho circled around from behind to take them out. Normally, the standard tactic would be to defend the stronghold while gradually wearing down the enemy's mana and waiting for an opening to strike. However, in our case, only Jork and Naru could use offensive magic. With such a lack of firepower and no decisive finishing move, we had no choice but to split into 2 groups, one to act as bait and the other to launch a surprise attack. I can't. It's too scary. I just can't do it. This is the worst. If you don't play your role as bait, then what's the point? Well, calm down. Look, I'll throw some rocks or something, okay? I've got pretty good aim, you know. I fumbled to console Naru, who was on the verge of tears. Seriously, doesn't she totally need Yoicho around? Helm was throwing a fit, and honestly, what is this, a daycare? At that moment, Jorcy's loud voice echoed from the other side. Even from here, I could see him perched on a tree branch, striking a dramatic pose as he looked down at the enemy squad. Leave it to me. Nah. The moment he locked eyes on the enemy, Jork immediately launched into an overly theatrical chant. O gathering pulse of the atmosphere, become the blade of the wind and strike down my sworn enemy. Wait, what? Are you an idiot? You're throwing away our advantage of staying hidden for nothing. Well, yeah, it's flashy, but as long as he lands the first hit, it should be fine, right? Beside me, Helm was stomping the ground in frustration. Oi, you okay? Your face is turning bright red. I mean, yeah, ideally, we'd take them down in one swift, unseen strike. But still. Don't worry, they say, the best defense is a good offense, right? Normally, yes, normally, but this is Jork we're talking about. This is the worst. Why am I always surrounded by incompetence? The tree beneath Jorcy's feet suddenly exploded. Looking up at me with an incredibly guilty expression, Naru muttered. Jork takes forever to finish his chants. Yoicho and Jork had successfully sneaked around behind the enemy, just as Helm had planned. They hid behind a conveniently sized tree, keeping out of sight. With the grass this tall, I can't pinpoint their exact location. I can tell the general area from where they're casting their spells, but still, what do you think we should do, Jork? Jork. As Yoicho glanced to his side, he realized Jork was gone. He looked around in confusion, scanning the area until a loud voice called down from above. Leave it to me. Nah, what the hell are you doing? Sure, Being up in the tree makes it easier to spot the enemy. But doesn't that mean they can see him just as easily? And shouting like that, he's definitely going to get noticed. Wait, he already got noticed. Fa! With a loud crack, the tree branch snapped, and Jork came crashing down right in front of me. Ow, damn it, ah yeah, I figured this would happen. Yoicho sighed internally, keeping his complaints to himself. I mean, come on, there's no way Jork can pull off stealth. This was totally Helm's mistake when picking the teams. Among all the knight apprentices, Jork had by far the worst performance. One of the main reasons. His ridiculously slow chanting. Jork had been heavily influenced by the heroic figures he had seen in plays as a child. Because of this, he had a habit of delivering incantations with dramatic flair, putting far too much emotion into every word. In other words, his chants took way too long. Thanks to that, his chants take 1.5 times longer than a normal mage's. And if you ask him, he'd probably say that's the price of style. On top of that, for some inexplicable reason, Jork had an abnormally high encounter rate with enemies. For example, if 10 people were wandering separately in a vast forest, what would be the probability of running into an enemy? Most likely 0, or at most, it wouldn't exceed 20%. But for Jork, the odds were around 70%. And to make matters worse, the moment he spotted an enemy, he would immediately start chanting in a loud, theatrical voice, giving away his position. What was meant to be a preemptive strike always ended with him being the one caught off guard. Naturally, his defeat rate was high. In short, Jork was the most defeated apprentice knight of them all. Jork, no good, we need to retreat. Yoicho immediately unleashed a wind spell. A weaker whirlwind than before expanded, enveloping the two of them in a wide radius. You're not getting away that easy. Rossi shouted. Wait, they ran that way. One of his squad mates called out. No, you're wrong. They're over here, look somewhere around that spot. Another corrected in frustration. The whirlwind didn't have enough force to do any real damage, just enough to blow away dust. However, the surrounding grass and foliage, caught in its influence, all rustled wildly at once, masking Yoicho and Jorsi's movements. Taking advantage of the enemy's momentary confusion, they slipped away, heading in the opposite direction of their stronghold. Phew, I think we managed to shake them off. For now, let's regroup with Helm and the others. Wait, Jork. I found ya. Let's fight fair and square. Nah. Yoicho turned just in time to see Jork take off this time, charging straight toward an entirely different squad. It wasn't just one group that had been hunting them down. Jork, no way, now is not the time for that. Hollow Diamond. WWW, what do we do? It's all Naru's fault. Now Yoicho's in danger. Naru was convinced that Yoicho was in trouble because she had failed to attack. I mean, I do have my cheat ability that nullifies magic. Should I just charge in? No, wait, there's gotta be a better way. Naru, listen up, I'm going to help Yoicho and the others. But there's something I need you to do. But I can't. Naru can't do it. Naru lowered her head, lacking confidence. I placed a hand on her shoulder and leaned in, whispering my request into her ear. Then maybe I can do it. But Naru can't use magic without Yoicho. Don't worry, I'll bring Yoicho back by then. Alright, Naru should be fine now. What about Helm? I turned to check on him, only to find that he had completely lost all motivation. What should I do? Oh, I know. I looked at Helm and asked. Impressive. This was all part of your plan, wasn't it? Ha, no way. Before Helm could explode in frustration, I cut him off, nodding enthusiastically and speaking as if I were genuinely impressed. Nah, I get it. It must be hard to explain to idiots like us, huh? But the way I see it, Helm led us into this situation on purpose. So this was part of the plan. Naru's head shot up, eyes turning to Helm. In moments like this, it's best to just push forward with confidence. Facts don't really matter. That's right, now they've gotta keep an eye on both us and Jorsi's group. This is our chance, right? A chance. Why yeah, you're right. Helm is amazing. A chance, you say? Indeed, I see now. I assumed you wouldn't understand even if I explained, but yes, this is exactly what I intended from the start. I gave a satisfied nod as Helm, now back to his usual self, quickly ran through the plan with me. Then, I crawled out of the trench. Helm, I'll follow your plan and head out for a bit. The moment Yoicho cast his spell and made his escape, I dashed toward the enemy squad. The sound of the wind masked my footsteps, and luckily, they were too focused on the fleeing Yoicho and Jork to pay much attention to me. Alright, time to make this count. I hoisted my shield and dashed through the swaying grass, the wind rustling around me. With visibility this poor, the two of them should still be safe probably. The enemy squad, either too confident or just plain stupid, was yelling at the top of their lungs as they fired off magic. Their positions were completely obvious. Seriously, how do they even train normally? No, that's not it. They're not just careless, they're underestimating us. To them, this isn't training. It's just a game where they're betting on booze. Yeah, I get it. Our squad, well, compared to the others, we're just a little lacking. But when they go this far with their mockery, makes you wanna prove 'em wrong, doesn't it? Pushing through the tall grass, I burst straight into the middle of their formation. Oorah, they weren't expecting me at all. Frozen in place with dumbfounded expressions, they had no time to react, so I didn't hesitate. I swung my shield with all my might. Yubulg. Bah! The two who had taken my shield full force, one to the face, the other to the side of the head, spun midair before crashing onto the ground, eyes rolling back in their heads. The rest of them stood frozen, their brains struggling to process what had just happened. Without wasting a second, I bolted from the scene, sprinting toward the direction where Jork and the others were likely to be. This is what they call a hit and run. Suck on that. Just to be safe, I dashed into the forest, weaving in a zigzag pattern to dodge any potential magic attacks, but no counterattack came. Oh, wait, this is just a training exercise. I got pissed and went all out, but they're not dead, right? A slight wave of guilt hit me, but they were wearing armor, and there's healing magic, and well, this is another world. They should be fine, probably. After a while, I heard Jorcy's loud voice and the explosive sound of magic up ahead. Shit, he's already fighting someone. Did another squad get drawn in by the sound of battle? Should I use those guys I just took down as bait like how I lured enemies with the giant boar last time? No, wait, Helm said some squads might be working together to take my name tag. That means there's a chance we'll get pincered. Damn it, Ubin, you really stirred up some trouble for me this time. First things first, I need to regroup with Jork and the others, fast. Hollow Diamond. No way. It's him. Are you okay? Hey, knows 'em, heal them quickly. Jay, just hold on, shit, this is bad. Zeno's helmet, crushed and deformed from the blow to his temple, was practically caved in. Can I even take this off? It's wedged in there pretty deep. As for Leo, who took a direct hit to the face. His nose is completely shattered. Several of his teeth were smashed to bits. There's no way my level of healing magic can fix this right away. No good, they won't even be able to walk properly for at least 3 days. Fighting is out of the question. Who the hell said I wouldn't even need to use my healing magic? No one expected to be treating injuries this bad out in the field. This is completely beyond what I was prepared for. One hit, even with the bracelet on. That's impossible. No, that's not it. He didn't use magic. The bracelet doesn't matter at all. The healer, Nozum, finally managed to remove Zeno's helmet. He immediately began working to heal what was most likely a fractured skull. That helmet, warped and crushed, was standard issue gear, enchanted with defensive magic. And yet it didn't help at all. No, actually, if not for the helmet, Zeno's head might not even be intact right now. That makes no sense. No magic. There's no way. He's gotta be cheating somehow. Unfortunately, with those two in this condition, there's no way we'll place in the top ranks for this training. Even so, if we spend the next 3 to 4 days focusing on recovery, then push through to the stronghold in the last 3 days. As long as we make it without any dropouts, we should at least get a passing grade. But before that, I swear, we're getting that bastard's name tag no matter what. That's right, we can't let it end like this. At the very least, we're getting that booze. No way we're letting this slide. He caught us off guard and closed the distance earlier, but as long as we keep our range, we've got the advantage. Wait, why didn't we sense him coming just now? I had detection magic covering a 5-meter radius around me, didn't I? The moment that realization struck, a cold sweat ran down Nozum's back. Detection magic functions like a barrier. It senses the mana of anything that enters its range. Whether in the sky or underground, as long as something steps inside, it should be detected. If something isn't detected, that means it has no mana, like an insect or a corpse. Then what the hell is he? When faced with something beyond their understanding, people experience a fear that knows no depth. Nozem hesitated, glancing between his injured comrades and the others. I need to stay here and heal Zeno and Leo. You two, sure you'll be fine. If things get dangerous, maybe you should just let this one go. But Rossi just grinned, completely unfazed. Hey, no worries, we've already made a deal with the squad that was tailing us from behind. Eustace raised an eyebrow. Wait, when did that happen? So we're taking him down with another squad's help. One prey, hunted through cooperation. It was certainly an efficient tactic. On a vast battlefield with plenty of places to hide, having more personnel was an undeniable advantage. However, when the number of targets was as limited as it was this time, disputes over reward distribution were bound to arise later. The alcohol they were betting on wasn't infinite. Eustace, looking somewhat dissatisfied at that thought, furrowed his brows. Noticing this, Rossi smirked and spoke with confidence. Don't worry about it, man. We only agreed to cooperate until we take that guy down. Nothing else was decided. This alliance is purely for the hunt. Whoever grabs the name tag first gets to keep it. Yoicho lay flat in the grass, staring ahead helplessly. He hadn't been able to stop Jork. And now, the fight had already started. What do I do? We just managed to escape, and now this. Yoicho had neither offensive nor healing magic, yet he still managed to pass the knight apprenticeship exam. It was all because of his unusually high mana reserves, far above the average, which gave him great potential for the future. Yoicho himself had no interest in becoming a knight, whose job was essentially violent conflict. His real goal was to work as a servant at the Order's garrison. However, when his childhood friend Naru, who admired him, also took the exam, something unexpected happened. Her magical aptitude turned out to be in a rather rare attribute. Because of this, instead of becoming a servant, she was admitted as an apprentice knight. Feeling uneasy about sending the timid, easily frightened Naru into the knights alone, Yoicho reluctantly decided to join as well, following after her. After joining the order, Yoicho attended several lectures on offensive magic. But no matter how much he studied, he could never form a clear image of attacking. Even now, his offensive magic was nowhere near practical use. Damn it, if only I could use attack magic. Yoicho watched from a short distance away as Jork dodged magic attacks with astonishing reflexes. Despite his poor grades, Jorsi's raw physical abilities were on par with that of a full-fledged knight. If he could just stop charging in without thinking and fix his overly dramatic chanting habits, he'd no doubt rank among the top apprentices. But in his current state, constantly on the move, casting a spell was impossible. And Yoicho, who could only use utility magic, couldn't do anything to help. Maybe if he used his whirlwind spell like before, they could escape again, but... Whoosh, whoosh, the wind magic Jork dodged flattened the grass, gradually turning the area into an open clearing. At this rate, there was no way they could keep hiding here. And running away wasn't an option anymore. At this point, maybe I should just stick close to Jork and keep dodging alongside him. If there are two of us, the enemy might have a harder time focusing their attacks, and we could keep evading for longer. But then what? We just keep dodging until we run out of energy and get taken down anyway. No, to begin with, winning was never an option. Since being assigned to this squad, have we ever won a single match? This team was made up of those who lacked ability, those who didn't fit in, those who were left behind. Of course, we're weak. That's just the way it is. But at this point, switching to another squad wouldn't change anything. I'd only be treated as a burden, looked down on, and forced to confront my own incompetence all over again. And honestly, I don't think I could handle that. As long as you're part of a group, there will always be someone at the bottom. Someone has to be last. That's just how it works. If it's us, then at least they get to win. Telling himself that, justifying every loss, Yoicho had gradually grown accustomed to losing. It's just the same as always. Just as the thought crossed his mind, Yoicho's breath hitched. Jorsi's knee suddenly buckled. The tall grass, grown to about waist height on an adult man, clung to his legs like shifting sand, draining his strength with every movement. It had only been a few minutes. But in that short time, Jork had dodged an unrelenting barrage of magic completely alone. His stamina had already hit its limit. Honestly, the real surprise was that he had lasted this long at all. It's always the same anyway, figures. Just as the thought crossed his mind, Yoicho's breath hitched. Jorsi's knee suddenly buckled. The tall grass, grown to about waist height on an adult man, clung to his legs like shifting sand, draining his strength with every movement. It had only been a few minutes. But in that short time, Jork had dodged an unrelenting barrage of magic completely alone. His stamina had already hit its limit. Honestly, the real surprise was that he had lasted this long at all. You damn Jork, how dare you dodge all our attacks? Just drop dead already. Frustrated that their attacks weren't landing as expected on Jork, whom they had considered inferior, the opponent unleashed a barrage of spells in desperation. Glowing bluish-white icicles, sharp stone shards flying in a straight line, and compressed masses of air. Any of these spells would be disastrous if they hit. Even with the bracelet's suppressing magic power, it's not hard to imagine what would happen if a sharp icicle pierced an eye. A stone shard, if it struck the wrong spot, could leave severe damage. Compressed air, depending on its shape, could create a slicing wind that could easily sever a finger. Each of these injuries could be healed without lasting effects if recovery magic was used immediately. However, full recovery would still take time, and the pain felt in the moment would never be erased from memory. Merciless spells closing in, meant only to harm him. How did they appear to Jork, who was too exhausted to dodge? And how did they look to Yoicho, who could do nothing but watch, unable to help? Anxiety, despair, humiliation, regret, and finally, resignation. Before the physical pain could reach him, a flood of negative emotions crashed into his heart. Thud, but in that instant, they were all stopped by a sudden silver wall. A silver shield suddenly struck the ground right in front of Jork, shattering the countless waves of despair that had been closing in on him. Ice strikes, air blasts, stone shards, even as all those attacks crashed against it, the shield stood firm, unwavering. Supporting it was his thick, powerful arm. Sorry, did I keep you waiting? His tone was so casual, like he was just apologizing for showing up 5 minutes late to a meetup. Hearing him speak as if this dire situation was nothing at all, the sense of urgency that had gripped the two began to fade. Amidst the despair, a broad, battle-hardened back rose before Jork, shielding him. With a firm thud, the shield having absorbed every attack was repositioned forward, and his unwavering gaze locked onto the enemy, brimming with confidence. An overwhelming presence radiated from him, unbreakable both in mind and body. It was the very image of the hero Jork had admired and chased after since childhood. Jork was the son of a wealthy merchant who owned a large shop in town and had 2 older sisters. Raised without any real hardships, he was doted on by his much older sisters. However, their excessive meddling often left him exasperated. Big sis, I can put on my clothes by myself now. Oh my, Jork, that's amazing. But you buttoned it up wrong. Come here, let me fix it. Oh dear, on rainy days, this outfit would be better. Now, let's get you changed, shall we? Jorcy's 2 older sisters found him irresistibly adorable and competed with each other to dote on him. Every night, they read him picture books about princes and princesses falling in love. They held pretend tea parties with the latest trendy sweets and dressed him up in frilly, cute outfits multiple times a day, showering him with praise each time. Jork disliked how he was gradually being immersed in his sisters' tastes. Of course, even as a child, he understood that they meant no harm. And he knew that if he strongly rejected them, he would only end up making his beloved sisters sad. But the truth is, I want to read picture books about heroes slaying monsters. I don't even like those overly sweet treats. And the clothes something a little torn, like what the kids in town wear, looks way cooler. At first, Jork tried to assert his own preferences and pushed back against his sisters. But when they simply brushed him off with an "oh my, is this a rebellious phase?" and paid him no mind, he gradually gave up. Over time, the feeling of resignation grew stronger. Then one day, everything changed for Jork when his father took him to see a popular stage play for the first time. I want to be a hero. The hero Jork saw for the first time shone brilliantly on stage. He shielded the weak, rescued those in need, and faced powerful foes without hesitation, never thinking of himself. He wasn't someone who merely followed orders, he walked his own path with unshakable conviction. Right there on that stage was the very embodiment of what Jork considered a true man: wild, strong, and undeniably cool. It was a typical hero's tale, yet the way magic incantations were woven into the performance, delivered in a powerful, resonant voice as if sung, was groundbreaking at the time. This innovative staging quickly became a sensation in town. Jork begged his father to take him to see the play again and again. And so, it was etched deeply into his young heart both the idea that a true hero was someone who faced hardship and despair without breaking, and the uniquely dramatic style of chanting spells. At 15, Jork declared to his family that he would join the Knight Order to pursue his dream. By that time, his sisters had all married and had children of their own, and they no longer meddled in his life as they once did. The shop was set to be inherited by his brothers-in-law, and his parents, fully supportive, encouraged him with a simple, "Do what you love." Hey, Jork, don't charge in alone. Damn it, why won't he back down? Shit, lost again. Next time, I'll win. I'll win and become a hero. To face hardship, one must first find themselves in hardship. However, in battle, the key is to fight under the most advantageous conditions possible. In other words, the fundamental strategy is to avoid difficult situations altogether. When at a disadvantage, retreating is the standard tactic. Because of this, Jork started deliberately picking fights alone whenever he found himself at a disadvantage. Since the odds were against him, losing was inevitable. And as if his luck couldn't get any worse, Jork had an uncanny knack for running into enemies. He kept losing, over and over, until one day he realized he was dead last in the rankings. No one wanted to team up with him anymore. Still, Jork continued chasing after the back of the hero he had yet to see, believing that one day he would catch up. And now, that very hero stood before him. An overwhelming presence effortlessly deflecting attacks, wearing a fearless grin. The unbreakable shield, the unyielding heart. The back of a true man. Hollow diamond, you alright? First, we need to get back to Yoicho behind us. Can you move? Jork looked completely exhausted, but he wasn't injured. If he just took a moment to catch his breath, he'd probably be able to move again. Yeah, I'm fine, totally fine, big bro. Big bro. Right, okay, let's move back slowly. Feeling a bit weirded out by the unfamiliar term, we kept the shield up in front of us and steadily retreated. For now, the enemy was clustered in one direction, making it possible to handle their attacks. But if they spread out and attacked from multiple angles, there'd be no way to defend against them. The worst-case scenario would be if that squad from earlier caught up and joined the fight. With nothing but the shield for cover, protecting both of us would be tough. Honestly, I'd rather get into the forest as soon as possible. According to Naru, Jorsi's chanting takes a long time. The first thing that came to mind was Commander Beale during the battle against the Pakar army. His final move had a long chant time, but it delivered devastating damage across a wide area. From what I've heard, chanting is done to solidify the image of the spell before casting it. If that's the case, then maybe the longer the chant, the clearer the image becomes, giving it a significant advantage. Kind of like charging in a game where you spend one turn doing nothing, but on the next turn, your attack power doubles. Jork, we need to thin their numbers. Can you blast them away with your magic? Yeah, as long as I have enough time, I can do it. Good, then go for it. I'll cover you while you chant, so don't worry. Got it, big bro. Watch my magic, it's gonna be awesome. As Jork began his chant, the enemy seemed to remember their situation and launched another wave of attacks. However, the shield had a rounded, dome-like shape, causing most attacks to glance off. Because of this, the strain on my arm was lighter than it looked. That said, if I were up against someone like Crimea or Urt, who could fire icicles as thick as an arm in rapid succession, the shield and I would probably be sent flying. Oh, axe clad in the sky. Become a sharp blade and cleave my foe, go. Wind axe. The spell Jork unleashed flew in an arc toward the enemy's ranks. Wind should be invisible, yet its trajectory was clearly visible. He compressed the air so much that it's visible to the naked eye, boosting its power. The enemy hastily fired their magic in an attempt to intercept it, but Jorsi's spell spun unpredictably, making it impossible to shoot down. Thud, Jork's wind axe struck one of them square in the head. The enemy collapsed onto the ground. Wait a sec, that was way more normal than I expected. I mean, after all that build-up, I was imagining something like boom. An explosion that would blow everything away in a flashy spectacle. Yeah, my magic's power is totally average. Oh, I see, right. Why the hell is he so proud of that? Hell yeah, you saw that, right, big bro. My magic totally hit him. Come on. Yeah, that was amazing. Jorsi's magic had been way more ordinary than I'd expected, so honestly, I was a little disappointed. But unlike me, Jork was completely hyped. So it's not like charging where the attack power doubles, he's just slow at chanting. That's nothing but a disadvantage. Wait, maybe that's it. Could it be that Jork has never actually landed a hit with his magic during combat training? From what I've heard, he always charges head-on like an idiot, and with that slow chant, he was probably taken down before he could even fire a spell. But this time, he actually had a tank covering him, which let him finish his chant and land a clean hit for the first time. So that's why he's so damn happy. Wait, then why the hell did you compress the air so much if the spell's power is just average? What are you talking about, big bro? If you can't see it, it's not cool, right? No, that completely defeats the purpose of wind magic. The whole point is that it's terrifying because you can't see it. Well, at least the enemy's attacks had visibly decreased. Looking at the results, we had successfully thinned their numbers. But with a healer around, anyone with minor injuries could get back into the fight quickly. Hey, do all the squads have a healer? Dunno, but if we just blow everyone away, it won't matter, right? Are you a meathead? You don't even have muscles, so how the hell are you this much of a muscle-brained idiot? Just to clear things up, people tend to think meatheads are always muscular guys, but that's not true at all. Real gym buffs actually think a lot. They calculate their daily caloric intake, balance their PFC ratios, P for protein, F for fat, C for carbohydrates, and carefully analyze which exercises target which muscles. Their knowledge spans everything from physical training to mental discipline. Some even read the latest research papers and scientific studies. It might surprise you, but gym buffs are actually pretty damn smart. Well, in the end, after thinking about everything, it all just comes down to, if you train your muscles, most problems sort themselves out. Well, not every squad has one. Healers are kind of valuable, after all. At some point, Yoicho had crawled up behind us. Judging by the way he moved, he must have been inching forward while staying hidden. But, even if they don't have a healer, most squads can at least do some basic first aid, I think. I see. Then we need to act fast before they get back up. Reuniting safely was good, but protecting 3 people with a single shield was pushing it. We needed to escape into the forest fast. Alright, you two, plans changing. I'll act as the decoy, and you two head through the forest and return to the temporary base. Once you're there, get the details from Helm and start preparing. So, big bro, I can take out the 2 guys in the forest, right? What? They're coming this way from the forest. If I head back to the base, I'll run right into them. Wait, Jork, are you sure? My detection magic didn't pick up anything. Nope, I'm telling you, they're there. They're still a bit far, so maybe your magic just hasn't picked them up yet, yeah. Yoicho had said his detection magic covered a range of about 1,600 feet around him. If Jork was right, that meant the 2 enemies were approaching from beyond that range. Huh, so you can use detection magic too, huh? Nah, big bro, I can't use detection magic. It's just that. Jork crossed his arms, looking unusually serious. I dunno, it's like I can see everything from above. Almost like I turned into a bird or something. Huh, like a bird? You mean you can see the area from above, like you're flying? That's incredible. Observing the surroundings from above, that's huge. When someone goes missing in the mountains or at sea, helicopters are always used for search and rescue. That's because aerial searches are vastly more effective. From the sky, terrain, distances, and positions are all visible without obstructions. It probably wouldn't work inside buildings or deep in the forest, but outdoors, the advantage is ridiculous. The fact that a single person can do that is just insane. That's bird's eye view magic. That's an advanced detection spell. How did you? Huh, so this really is magic. I dunno, I was just looking for enemies for so long, and then it just kinda happened. Wait, could this be why Jork always runs into enemies so often? Yeah, I can see where they are, after all. So Jork wasn't just unlucky, he had been actively searching for enemies and charging in alone. Is there really such a thin line between wanting to be a hero and having a death wish? Damn, that kind of thinking is dangerous. Hey, Jork, the hero, you're aiming to be what kind of guy is he? Huh, well, he's the kinda badass who shows up right when someone's in trouble, takes care of everything in a flash, and looks damn cool doing it. I see. Listen, Jork. There are 2 types of heroes. The kind that dominates the front lines, like you said, and the kind that stays in the back, controlling the battlefield and leading their allies to victory. You have the potential to be the latter, no doubt about it. But the hero I saw could take down dozens of enemies all by himself. That's the kind of power I want. I don't wanna be some jerk who just sits back and gives orders. Yeah, I get that feeling. There are always bosses who hide behind their authority and act all high and mighty. They have no real ability themselves, yet they push impossible tasks onto their subordinates with nothing but words. But guys like that, they're never the ones people call heroes. Jork, does Commander Beale just sit back and act all high and mighty? Exclamation mark, question mark. Sure, there are guys like that. But whether they're on the front lines or in the back, people like that will always act high and mighty no matter where they are. Taking down dozens of enemies alone, that's definitely a hero. But don't you think the one who commands thousands of knights and saves tens of thousands of people is a hero, too? That's Jork. If you're aiming to be a hero, don't settle for being the kind who can defeat 10 people, be the kind who can save 10,000. Damn it, hurry up and wake that bastard up. Losing because of some bottom rank loser's magic? Don't make me laugh. Balt, the squad leader, grimaced as if he had swallowed a bitter bug. He glanced at Jill, who lay unconscious after taking a direct hit from the wind axe, Eric's, then turned his sharp glare toward the gleaming silver shield. Damn bastard just showed up out of nowhere, thought he was some dumbass magic reject, but turns out he's a damn tank. Well, I guess magic doesn't mean shit if you're just a meat shield. I always figured an earth wall would be way more useful than some idiot standing there taking hits, but if you think of it as a thinking wall that moves to block attacks on its own, then yeah, I can see the value. Still, I didn't expect it to let that bottom feeder finish his damn chant. If it had been just a regular dirt wall, that guy would have done the same old shit, waddling forward, taking his sweet ass time chanting his spell, slow as hell. No choice. Dornus, put up an earth wall. Just in front for now. Understood. Never thought I'd have to think about defense against Jork. Salayu, you too. Do we really have to? I mean, picking on the weak isn't really my thing, you know. Puffing out her cheeks in mild annoyance, Salayu let out a dramatic sigh before reluctantly beginning her chant. That Rossi's signal. Tough luck, but by the time you guys get here, it'll all be over. Licking his dry lips, Balt muttered as he stared at the silver shield standing firm before him and the two glowing lights floating in the sky behind it. You should be honored. You're getting the privilege of facing me head on. Hollow Diamond. According to Jorsi's scouting, if we take the forest route back to the base, we'll have to deal with those two from earlier. And we still need to handle the squad right in front of us. If too much time passes, we'll end up fighting both at once. Yeah, no thanks. That's the last thing I need. Alright, what's the plan? Unbelievable, they're using earth wall against us. Yoicho's stunned whisper reached my ears. Peeking out from behind the shield, I took a quick look ahead. Sure enough, an earth wall was slowly rising from the ground. Why, isn't defending normal? I asked, still watching the wall. Not to brag, but we don't need defense. Yoicho shot back, his voice full of confidence. Yeah, that's definitely not something to brag about. The ironclad Balt squad, they're a top-ranked unit. Normally, guys like us wouldn't even be worth their time. They'd just pass right by us, you know. But this time, they're after the bet, so they actually came for us. Still, I can't believe they're taking us seriously. Honestly, I would have preferred if they kept underestimating us, I muttered. Big bro, it's 'cause I landed a hit. Jork chimed in, brimming with excitement. A top-ranked squad, Then we need to deal with them first, or this could get ugly. If we leave them alone, they'll just close in on us later. And since they've put up an earth wall, they must be serious about this. Yoicho, does the Balt squad or whatever they're called, have a healer? They shouldn't. They're called ironclad, for a reason. Their hit rate is ridiculously low, so they don't need one. Alright, Jork already took one down, so that leaves 4. According to the plan Helm and I worked out, if we cut their numbers in half, we'll have just the right balance when the two from the forest side show up. Jork, there aren't any other squads nearby, right? If you see anyone coming, let me know immediately. And don't go charging in on your own. There's no one close by, we're good. You're our only attacker, so I'm counting on you. Take down 2 more, think you can do it? Hell yeah, leave it to me, big bro. This is getting exciting. Jorsi's eyes sparkled with excitement as he began chanting, his voice almost singing the words. His exaggerated gestures and dramatic movements made it feel like I was watching a musical. Boom, boom, boom. Whoa, the impact against the shield suddenly got heavier, way heavier. They lost a member, so their number of attacks should have gone down. But instead, each hit was on a whole different level compared to before. Looks like playtime's over. Damn, this is what a top-ranked squad's assault feels like. My grip on the shield was starting to give out. Especially that bald guy, his wind magic is insane. Have you ever been carrying a large, flat object like a cardboard box or a wooden board, only for a weak gust of wind to suddenly rip it right out of your hands? The force of the wind changes depending on the surface area it hits. Even massive trucks weighing several tons can get flipped over by a strong gust. If the shield gets blown away, I'll have nothing left to protect myself. That means instant defeat. Jorcy's magic is working, I can tell that much. Just a little more, hold on, damn it. Thud, whoosh, damn it, that bastard's tweaking the angle of the gusts hitting my shield. If I lose focus for even a second, my whole arm's gonna get blown back. But as long as you're chanting, I swear I'll protect you. Jork, I'm counting on you. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark. GRH. In. Oi, no way, this is taking way too damn long. This is taking way too long. My arms are gonna fly off at this rate. Jork, please, attack already. Sorry, big bro, I just can't get a clear shot. He's right, something over there is multiplying. Sure enough, that whole area looked distorted, almost like it was shifting. Some kind of magic, no wonder he's having trouble aiming. I see, so that's why their hit rate is so low. They're not just tough, they've got tricks too. But, Jork, don't look at it directly. Aim from above. Oh, right, got it. Wind axe. Unlike linear attacks like icicles or stone bullets, the curved trajectory of the wind axe makes frontal walls useless. Walls can obscure targets inside, making blind attacks unreliable. But that doesn't apply to Jork right now. After all, he's looking down from above. Everything is in plain sight, those walls might as well not exist. And there was one more reason why Jorcy's scouting ability stood out. Thwack. WHY. The wind axe wavered unpredictably as it soared past the earthen wall, its momentum carrying it straight into the forehead of a young girl. With a look of utter disbelief still frozen on her face, she arched backward before collapsing onto the ground with a heavy thud. Jorcy's scouting magic doesn't just let him see from above, it even has heat detection. No matter how much the enemy blurs or turns invisible, as long as they have body heat, there's no escaping Jorcy's sight. Hell yeah, 2 direct hits in a row. You saw that, right, big bro? Huh. Seriously, with an ability this insane, why the hell haven't you been using it until now? Ah, see, at first I thought the red ones were enemies. But then the enemies, our allies, and even the damn rabbits and squirrels around here all turned red, so I just gave up. Well, even if you can see them, it's not like you can do much about it, Jork. Oh, right, Jorcy's slow chanting, that makes sense. But still, with high-level scouting magic and that kind of physical ability, if he trained as an assassin or a sniper, he'd be insane. That is, if he ever fixes that over-the-top chanting of his. Seryu. Alma quickly removed her own hair clip and swept up Seryu's long bangs, securing them in place. Thanks to her protective gear, the wound on her forehead was just a bruise rather than a deep cut. But she showed no signs of waking, likely because of the impact to the back of her head when she fell. Without a healing mage around, it was hard to tell how serious her condition was, but for now, it seemed best not to move her. This ain't good. Seryu's out cold. How the hell did they hit her so damn precisely? Was it just luck? Alma muttered, her voice tense. What else would it be but luck? Stop spoutin' nonsense and hurry the hell up with your attack, Alma. Bart barked, his frustration boiling over. Seryu was a rare mage, even among lower-ranked ones, who specialized in illusions. By manipulating the surrounding air temperature and forcibly creating boundaries between warm and cold air, she could project objects in shifted locations like a mirage, making them appear somewhere other than their actual position. The fact that Jorcy's attack had struck Seryu's head with pinpoint accuracy despite her being in a location different from where she appeared to be sent a chill down Alma's spine. If they fired a lot of shots, some might hit by chance but landing the very first strike. Ain't that seriously dangerous? Dornet's Earth Wall and Seryu's Mirage. By combining these two magical techniques, Bart's squad had boasted an unbreakable fortress so strong that they hardly needed a healing mage. Yet, in just this short span of time, 2 of their members had been taken down, and one of their key defenses, the Mirage, had been shattered. Even worse, it was a lower-ranked squad that did it. God damn it, d'ant mess with me, thud. Enraged, Bart kicked the earth wall before closing his eyes and taking a deep breath. He knew all too well that letting his emotions run too hot would only lead to reckless, reactionary actions. He had been short-tempered once, and he had lost count of how many failures it had caused. But now, as the leader of his squad, he had learned the art of self-control. Think, what's the most important thing right now? Right, what really matters is. Dornith, surround the entire area with earth walls immediately. Include the ceiling too, Bart commanded. Wait, what? Ain't that a terrible idea? If we trap ourselves in, we're screwed. Alma exclaimed, her voice rising in frustration. That's only true when reinforcements aren't coming. Bart shot back. You saw the signal earlier, right? Rossi and the others will be here soon. We just need to buy time until then. Indeed, we don't want any more injuries on the first day of training. Dornith agreed with a nod. That's right. The real problem isn't taking risks, it's letting this training session fall apart. This isn't about pride, we need to gather our forces and strike with certainty. Hollow Diamond. Hell yeah, big bro. They're completely trapped. Jork grinned in satisfaction as Bart's squad was steadily enclosed within a dome of earth walls. But with all directions sealed off, his aerial perspective magic was now useless. I had him fire a few gale axes at the walls just to test their durability, but tch, those things were sturdier than I expected. Hey, Jork, how long until the two in the forest get here? I asked. Let's see, probably about 7 or 8 minutes. Jork replied, tilting his head in thought. No doubt about it, they're waiting for those two to arrive so they can flank us. Yoicho said, his tone cautious. Big bro, should we make a break for it? Jork suggested, glancing at me. No, if we don't deal with this now, they'll keep targeting us from behind for the rest of the fight. I shook my head firmly. What should we do? Break the earth wall? Jorsi's attacks couldn't get through. Then maybe if we hit the same spot over and over. No, that won't work. If we can't strike the same spot in rapid succession, it'll just repair itself. Jork can't fire that fast. Ahaha, I wish I could help somehow, sorry. Yoicho murmured apologetically, his guilt evident. Yeah, I know, man, if only we had just one more person who could attack. But Yoicho can only use daily life magic. Wait, daily life magic? Yoicho, can you dry clothes or hair instantly? I grabbed his shoulders and shook him, causing his head to bob back and forth. Dazed by the sudden motion, Yoicho somehow managed to get his words out. Why yeah but first, see, could you stop that? Ah, my bad. I let go, realizing I had been too rough. My head's spinning. Yeah, I can use quick dry, but do we really need that right now? Yoicho gave me a puzzled look, but I patted his shoulders firmly and had him cast quick dry at full power. Of course, not on me, but on that dome-shaped earth wall. I heard that Yoicho was recruited into the Night Order because he had more magic power than most people. So what happens if he uses that magic to keep drying the entire dome? I've never used it on such a large area before, but here goes. Quick dry, Yoicho declared. Damn, big bro, you're gonna cook him alive in there. That's brutal, Jork said, clearly impressed. Like hell I am. What do you take me for, a demon? Just watch, I shot back. Crack, a faint fracture formed on the surface of the dome. Crack creak. A few minutes later, fissures ran across the entire surface in every direction. When we dug the trenches earlier, I noticed that the soil here had a high feldspar content. Simply put, it was sandy. Unlike clay, which hardens as it dries, this type of soil becomes brittle and crumbles easily when it loses moisture. Creak, crack, snap. That earth wall probably didn't have as much strength as it seemed anymore. It still held enough integrity to avoid collapsing on its own, but what would happen if we hit it with a strong impact? Hollow Diamond. What is that sound? Dornith muttered, his voice tense. Wait, what? There are cracks all over the damn wall. Alma exclaimed. Dornith, what the hell is going on? Fix it, now, Bart barked. Fine grains of sand crumbled from the fissures, spilling onto the ground. Dornith desperately attempted to repair the earth wall again and again, but the cracks spread faster than he could keep up. What did they do? The wall won't keep up with the repairs. Dornith exclaimed, struggling to contain the damage. Alma. What's going on outside? Check it now, Bart ordered. Geez, why don't you just look for yourself? Bart's mood had clearly taken a turn for the worse. Well, I get it, 2 of our squad members were already down. But still, I'd appreciate it if he didn't take it out on me. Reluctantly, I peeked outside through a small air hole. Jork and that guy were looking this way, shouting something. But they didn't seem to be using any magic. Nothing looks different to me. Maybe you're just off your game today, I said. That's ridiculous. I'm perfectly fine. I've taken care of my health properly for this training. Before he could finish, Jorcy's full-force chanting rang out, cutting through our conversation. Anyone familiar with spellcasting would instantly recognize what magic was coming next. Normally, you'd keep it quiet to avoid giving the enemy time to react, but, as always, that idiot never learns. Gather before me, O spirits of the air. Form a mighty throng from your fleeting presence. Unleash your power wind pressure. Ha, seriously, wind pressure, now of all times, like that's gonna do anything. Even if the earth wall was covered in cracks, thinking a simple gust generating spell like wind pressure could bring it down was way too naive. Seriously, what a dumbass. Just to be sure, Alma peeked through the small opening again, but she had no idea what she was looking at. It was something she had never seen before, never imagined, never even considered possible. What the hell is that? It's coming this way. The moment her brain processed what she was seeing, her eyes widened in shock. Oh crap, no way. What came hurtling toward her at the speed of a cannonball was a massive, flying lump of muscle. Alright, that dome should be significantly weakened by now. Everything's going according to plan. Just one more hit, but I need it to pack some serious punch. Quick Dry is seriously amazing. Depending on how you use it, daily life magic could be incredibly useful in combat. Though, I guess you'd need as much magic power as Yoicho to pull something like this off. Yoicho's impressive. That aside, though, there's something else that's been bothering me. Why was I able to block their magic? My cheat ability, Overwhelming Mana Provisional, should have a secondary effect, magic nullification. If that's the case, I shouldn't just be able to block magic, I should be able to stand still, and every magical attack should vanish the moment it reaches me. In fact, I've already confirmed that earth spells disappear before they can hit me. But what about that last exchange? My arms still ache from taking Bart and the others' attacks head on. So what the hell is going on? Ah, that's probably because of this. Yoicho held up his left wrist, showing me the bracelet he was wearing. They explained it before the training started, remember? The bracelet of suppression, it keeps your magic power below a certain level. To be honest, I still don't get a lot of the complicated terms, but what about the quick dry spell you're using right now? That seems like it would take a lot of magic power. Ahaha, the bracelet only restricts the maximum output of magic. Earth Wall and the quick dry spell I'm using right now don't require pouring in strong magic, they just need to be sustained over time. Magic power doesn't just circulate within the body, it also seeps out around a person. Detection and scouting magic work by sensing this leaked magic. Magic resistance occurs when the magic seeping from one's body cancels out an incoming spell. However, this only happens if the magic surrounding the person is greater than the magic imbued in the opponent's spell. So that means with this bracelet on, the strength of the magic seeping from my body is being restricted too. So basically, because of this thing, the amount of magic surrounding me dropped, and I lost my magic nullification. I stared at the bracelet, which had been hidden under the cloth, feeling a mix of curiosity and realization. Still, though, big bro, why the hell are you wearing a bracelet on both arms, huh? Jork asked, squinting at me. Oh wow, you're right. Why, this is basically the same as having no magic at all. Yoicho exclaimed. Well, a really kind person, I started. Big bro, you got scammed, didn't you? Jork sighed. What the hell, I really thought they were just being nice. Didn't expect you to be this careless, big bro. Keep that up, and you'll get taken out in no time, huh? Jork teased. Goo, that's not the point. Jork, I shot back. What is it, big bro? Battle has a way of driving people mad. Baseless confidence. The thrill of the battle unfolding exactly as I envisioned it gave me a dangerous sense of omnipotence and illusion that I could do anything. The finishing blow, if there was anything worthy of delivering it, it had to be these muscles. Against that cracked up wall, my muscles were undoubtedly stronger. Launch me over there with your magic. Hollow diamond, huh? At first, I thought big bro had lost his damn mind. Most wind magic is meant to blow enemies away, but having an ally turn to you and say, launch me straight at the enemy. Yeah, that's not something you ever expect to hear. And he's not just asking to be sent flying, no, big bro's aiming to crash straight into the dome. Even with all those cracks, ramming into a solid earth wall head-on would normally mean more than just a few broken bones, so this is what true self-sacrifice looks like. I can't even begin to understand this kind of thinking, but if that's what it takes to become a hero, then I need to reach that level too. Alright, got it, big bro, I'll send you flying straight to that spot. Hollow Diamond. A mass of muscle was hurtling straight toward us. There wasn't a second to spare. There was no time to explain to Bart and the others. Not that I even knew how the hell I was supposed to explain that. Ice shield, ice shield, ice shield. Panicked, I threw up as many shields as I could. The fact that I even managed to react in time was a miracle. And summoning 3 ice shields in rapid succession, yeah, that was a personal record for me. Whoa, new record. Wait, this ain't the time for that. Alma instinctively curled up, shielding her head with both arms and crouching down to protect herself just as it hit. Boom, crash. A dull, heavy thud and the sharp, high-pitched sound of shattering glass reached Alma's ears almost simultaneously. The impact sent her curled-up body flying like a rubber ball, dragging Bart along with her as they were hurled straight toward the earth wall behind them. Wagoo, thud, Alma and Bart crashed straight through the earth wall, getting blasted out of the dome. Ahow! The fact that the dome was already riddled with cracks meant that it crumbled easily upon the initial impact. Combined with the 3 ice shields she had instinctively thrown up, and the added cushion of Bart behind her against the earth wall, Alma surprisingly took less damage than expected despite how violently she had been launched. Hey, Alma, you alright? What the hell just? In that split second, Bart had managed to compress air between himself and the wall to absorb some of the impact. He hadn't been chosen as a squad leader for nothing. That said, he still took more damage than Alma. Unlike her, he hadn't had time to brace himself before getting crushed. His bones were probably intact, but his insides felt like a mess. What the hell is this? The mirage cast by Seryu and the earth wall summoned by Dornath had withstood countless attacks throughout this battle. The so-called impenetrable Bart squad, that once unbreakable wall, had been reduced to nothing but a pile of sand in an instant. What kind of attack could have possibly done this? It was him. That bastard came flying in like a damn missile. Alma shouted. As the dust cloud billowed, a massive shadow emerged, wavering like a mirage. With a wicked smirk, the figure grabbed Dornath by the collar with one hand and effortlessly lifted his limp body. Why, you bastard, let go of him. He kept his grip on Dornath, but with his other arm, he stretched out his hand toward his palm facing forward. And then he started muttering something under his breath. Shit, he's chanting, Alma shouted. TCH, get down, Alma. Bart barked. Damn it, this was completely unexpected. That bastard, he can use magic. ? The attack never came. Something was off. That guy was definitely about to cast a spell. Wait, could he be the same as Jork? If that's the case. So his chanting is just as slow as Jorcy's, huh? Just as Bart pushed himself up from the ground, ready to start his own chant, a wave of sand suddenly blasted into his face. Fwoosh, 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 gah, PFF'd, PFF'd. Damn bastard, he was waiting for me to lift my head. Bart spat, coughing out sand. Ah, my eyes, Alma shrieked. As Bart wiped his face and brushed the sand from his eyes, he looked up only to see him on all fours, facing away, frantically digging through the sand with both hands. Wow, that wasn't magic. That bastard, he was kicking sand at us like a damn dog after finishing its business. Did he just compare us to dog crap? ! I have never been humiliated like this before. I've had enough of this shit. Squad leader, responsibility, who gives a damn? Magic won't work on that bastard. I'll smash his face in until my fists break. The ones I looked down on as the weakest had crushed my so-called impenetrable defense, my comrades had fallen, and now, to top it all off, I was being treated like dog crap. For someone as short-tempered as me, this was more than enough to make me lose it completely. So that's for today. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe and stay connected for further parts of the story.